May meeting of Tennessee Ridge Commissioner meeting. Since Ray's not here, I'll have a word of prayer while we open up. Lord, thank you for this day. Lord, thank you for the ones that are here tonight. Lord, help us all, Lord, make the right decisions for this city and do your glory, Lord, each day as we live. In thy name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Leslie, you want to do a roll call?
Yes, sir. Mayor Odom,
Here.
Brian Bumpus,
Here.
Matt Williams.
Here.
Travis Wyatt.
Here.
Let the record show that Ray Bradley is absent at this time. Also present, Leslie Rucker, Kenneth Donovan, and Sid Benson.
Okay, and the first thing on there is a motion to approve last regular meeting's minutes.
Make a motion. Second.
We have a motion and a second.
Motion by Brian Bumpus, second by Matt Williams. Mayor Odom,
Yes.
Brian Bumpus,
Yes.
Matt Williams,
Yes.
Travis Wyatt.
Yes.
It's vote 4 yes, motion is passed.
First thing under old business is, of course, Mobby Lane Sewer and then the subdivision. Seth's not here, but he is coming. So if it's okay with the board, we'll skip down and look at some of these ordinances till he gets here. Then we'll let Seth talk. Let's see. Second reading on ordinance 23-281, Occupational Safety and Health Program Plan. I think we discussed that last meeting. This will be the second reading on it.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Have a motion and a second.
Motion by Matt Williams, second by Brian Bumpus. Mayor Odom,
Yes.
Brian Bumpus,
Yes.
Matt Williams, Travis Wyatt.
Yes.
Vote 4 yes, motion is passed.
Under the next order of business will be the second reading on ordinance 2023-282 to amend the water and sewer fund for the electricity. I think we discussed that last month too, how everything went up on that. We have to amend the water and sewer budget.
Motion to approve. Second.
We have a motion and a second.
Motion by Matt Williams, second by Travis Wyatt. Mayor Odom,
Yes.
Brian Bumpus,
Yes.
Matt Williams,
Yes.
Travis Wyatt.
Yes.
Vote 4 yes, motion is passed.
Next order of business is the second reading on 2023-283 to amend the water and sewer budget fund again. Budget for sewer treatment in the amount of $8,000. I think we discussed that last month, all the stuff that went on with the sewer.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second.
Motion by Brian Bumpus, second by Matt Williams. Mayor Odom,
Yes.
Brian Bumpus.
Yes.
Matt Williams,
Yes.
Travis Wyatt.
Yes.
Vote 4 yes, motion is passed.
Next line of business is second reading on ordinance 2023-284 to amend the water and sewer fund for water supplies in the amount of $5,000. I think we talked about that last month too.
Second.
We have a motion and a second.
Motion by Matt Williams, second by Brian Bumpus. Mayor Odom,
Yes.
Brian Bumpus.
Yes.
Matt Williams,
Yes.
Travis Wyatt.
Yes.
4 yes, motion is passed.
This will be the last on the second readings. Ordinance 2023-285 to amend the general fund budget for electricity in the amount of $6,900. This is the general fund.
Motion to approve. Second.
Have a motion and a second.
Motion by Matt Williams, second by Travis Wyatt. Mayor Odom,
Yes.
Brian Bumpus,
Yes.
Matt Williams,
Yes.
Travis Wyatt.
Yes.
Vote 4 yes, motion is passed.
Okay, Seth, we skipped down and done the second readings on our ordinances and got them out of the way. So you got the floor on Mobby Lane, the subdivision, and whatever else you got going on. The ARPA money, you got it. You got the floor.
Thank y'all for letting me go when I got here. I couldn't decide whether I was going to be late or early. So anyway, somewhere in between on that. But on the ARPA money, I know you all have seen that, that email from the state, but you got
We got-
about 1.8 million,
we
I
got-
think?
Yep, 1.8 million. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I seen your text you sent me when we got it.
I was pretty excited to see that it went through, and appreciate all of the city's hard work, and you know, it's a lot to it to get all that information into the grant administrator. So y'all did a great job
you done-
getting it together. So appreciate
We
it.
appreciate you putting it all together and presenting it to them, and
Yeah.
going to the meetings and presenting it and getting
Sure.
it done. So
Oh yeah, you're welcome. So there'll be a like a contract period where they will get be getting a contract between the state and the city, and that'll be probably happening in the next month or so. So once that goes through, it'll be, you know, you'll have the document, contract document, and we'll be able to really start and get down to work on it. So I guess next on the list, on Mobley Lane, they have done a little bit of work down there in setting one of the vaults, but he really.
seen they've been working on it.
He's waiting on the actual station to get here before he can really do a whole lot more. And I checked today and checked last week, and they still can't give us an exact date on that. What we had been told prior to this meeting was it was going to be like the 14th or the 17th of April when it was going to be shipped out. So, you know, we're a couple of weeks away from that now, already past it. So I'm still expecting it to be, you know, to come in anytime. Yes, and that'll allow him to go ahead and, you know, finish the installation by putting the station itself there on the wet well that's already in the ground. So
We got the power moving forward on that.
I've talked to Chris a couple of different times, and I know Stoney got me the name of the engineer over there. Haven't talked to him this week, but that was what I had planned to do was get a hold of him directly and try to make sure that's, you know, you brought that up to me, you know, way back. So I will I'll follow up with the MLEC engineer on it.
I just hate to get pumps here and then they got no way to power them up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Transformers are hard to get right now.
Yeah. So I'll follow back up with Chris and then with the engineer on it.
I'll see Marty probably tomorrow. I'll ding him and tell him to be looking for your phone.
Okay. That sounds good on that. So I guess our next thing is the Ridgeview subdivision, and Greg's been very patient with us getting the plans finalized, but we do have a final set of plans both on the water and on the sewer. And yes, those are both here and ready for your approval, and be happy to go over any part of them. It's pretty much the same layout as that we had when we showed up a few months back I think the March meeting. The layout is the same. These plans just have some of the details that the state's going to require, like showing the ground profiles and those types of things. But it's that same layout we originally looked at. But their plans are stamped. They're ready to go to the state. And once you all are good with them tonight, all you have to do is just will there be a letter we've got to sign and send in with them, and
We don't have to sign the plans.
no, you don't have to. You can. There's actually a place on here if you want to do that too. Go ahead and sign that and that letter, and that will be good. There's a spot on the front page of both of them.
Okay.
But is there any questions about it at this point? From the board?
Does it go through the middle of it?
It pretty much goes right through the middle, and it's almost it lays out. It's not right on the property lines, but it goes almost right through the middle of it. Sure does.
You know how the creek runs down through there? It pretty well runs right down beside the creek. That's the reason we had to rehab that back a few years ago.
On the water line, you're gonna hook in, you're gonna loop around to be able to.
Yeah, yes, sir. And we're actually going to hook up on Sarah Acres, at the end of Sarah Acres, and then we're going to hook up to Carl Taylor, and so it'll make a loop. It'll make a loop through there, which will be good to keep the water circulating. But it's also needed for the fire protection, getting the fire hydrant numbers up there. So yeah, it'll be a loop. Yes, sir.
Hey, I've kind of lost out on this, everything was going, the last time I heard anything about it was 2 meetings ago, so, just remind me now, is what you're doing there, is all that in the city limits?
Part of it's in the city limits and part of it's in the county. And all of it, of course, is connected to the city's, utility systems. But part of it's, still like it was in the county. I would say there's maybe a third of it in the county. See it?
Okay, so, well, see now with water, and I don't know, I guess the sewer's the same way. We extend that out into the county, we don't have to be in the city limits. With the roads, with the streets, it'd be proper for us. Does that include any streets that we'll be building outside we'll be accepting outside the city limits?
Yeah, these plans I don't really even address the streets in them. They're just strictly for the water and the sewer. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Because that's one thing, that'd be the limitation we have on it. I don't recall from the plat that we had the last time how that ran or whatever, where the city line ran, but I remember they were pretty close in there.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir. All right. Anything else, Stoney, you think? Another?
We basically are going to accept the plans you've got there for the subdivision.
For the water and the sewer.
Water.
Yeah, for the water and the sewer.
Utilities, yeah.
Yes, for the utilities. Yes, sir. That's,
The electricity's probably done, it's already in, I guess.
Yeah, and, the internet, we just waiting on Maryland.
Anybody got any more questions about the subdivision?
You're not accepting the subdivision, that's not,
just,
you're asking them to accept the water and sewer.
yes, sir. That's correct. Yes, sir. Just, yeah, the water and the sewer.
When you get those in.
So,
Yeah.
fill me in here, where we at on what the question is? I mean, I gotta come back again, or is this it?
I don't know what the motions will be, but if the motions to.
I guess we're going to just accept the water and sewer. What's presented on them maps.
So, so he brought me a paper about annexing the rest of these in, right? Because there's 2 pieces that's about, I don't know, 260 foot in the front and about 300 foot on the other side of the county that we discussed. The rest of the roads are in the city. So I guess my question is where are we at on that piece? I guess is my question is. I mean,
I don't know anything about that.
I don't think we've even done anything on that. We did the second reading on the water last month, right? He was getting the plans together.
And
So we've done that part. We haven't even started this has just been discussion. There's been no motion.
Right.
No activity.
Okay. So we need to come back and do the road piece, right?
Yes, if you.
Yeah.
But they can't, accept if you vote outside the city. Roads, and I know there's some part of them back there, you may have some part city streets, some part of it's county road, it's private. Right, well, until they, once they.
That's the paper he presented me. We're not asking. No.
I was just giving that for information.
Yeah, it's just information.
yeah,
As far as the area that's inside the city limits, the road, the city cannot accept that as a city street until the development brings it up to our specifications with our subdivision regulation. Is that what you're asking?
In a way.
Okay. And as far as anything else outside the county, we cannot annex that road or take it as a city street until it's also brought up until standards. Is that correct, Sid? On the outside? Like, we would have to annex it, and it had to be brought up to city standards first, where we would accept it as a city street. Right. Until it's annexed, part of the city. Right.
If we were to accept the road, you could annex the property and the city never owned the road. Roads annexed to.
Well, we do have a subdivision regulation that states that in part of that subdivision, included with the infrastructure is the roads that have to grow up to standards.
If I made a subdivision.
If the city wants to take them over. And then we'll get into another area, though, is that you're going to have those people who live inside its city limits that are going to complain for the fact that they don't have a city street and it's not paved.
I'm not
So,
saying you should, I'm saying
right, I'm
it's
just
different
explaining the
motion.
subdivision regulation.
I think the big thing is we just need to get it done before they start selling lots, because once they start selling lots, we get a lot more muddy and a lot more complicated.
Well, the first thing we can, like you said, we can annex that little section you're talking about without, that'll be the first step to take. A little easier. I think I'm
Stoney.
I'm still, I'm the planning commission.
I don't think it's anything we can do in a hurry. Yeah, it takes a while.
To answer his question, we don't need him back next month for anything. We're approving the water, and he can go carry on with the water, and if we need something, we'll holler at him, but he don't need to keep coming to every meeting unless he just wants to.
I'll let you know, Greg, when you do, or Seth will, if anything comes up. So we have a motion, or do we have we don't have a motion on the table yet?
No.
No, we
Okay.
didn't,
Yeah, we need a motion to accept the utility, water and sewer for the, I want to say subdivision.
Well, that's what the plans say, Ridgeview subdivision.
Okay.
we did that last month. We did the
No,
second.
we approved him to begin the process if he needed to. These are actually approving
you.
the plans that we're sending to
The
TDEC.
utilities, the actual water and sewer.
The entire infrastructure, water and sewer, that's going to TDEC, and then TDEC has to approve it.
I got you.
TDEC requires us to have a letter and a motion saying we approve it.
Motion to approve.
Here a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second.
Mayor Odom,
Yes?
Brian Bumpus.
Yes.
Matt Williams,
Yes.
Travis Wyatt.
Yes.
4 yes, motion is passed.
You gone? Okay. Okay, no problem, no problem. we will start with discussion on the annexation part, and we'll let you know when to come by.
See you later,
Okay.
Greg.
Let's see here. Anything else under old business? No, we're gonna move on to the new business.
The only thing I was wondering about, I know we voted last time on approving, the safety director. One thing it mentions about posting on employees' bulletin board. Where is the employees' bulletin board?
Posting what on the employees bulletin board?
Any notice, safety notice or whatever, it's what one of the things I read on that.
So
They
each
got one down there?
each employee has a binder that includes everything that they need to know, and then they have a board at the shop, and then we have one in here in the kitchen, and we have one in the office.
So that would, with the employees, most of them that, in the field would probably only see that board.
They
Down
have
there.
one, they have a one at the shop. They have a board at the shop.
Yes,
Mhm.
that's why I just wanted to
Yes.
bring that up, that would, because a lot of times you post things or things has to be posted on there. And that would,
We get them every month at work.
Yes.
It's gotta be posted for you to be plain view for all employees to read.
right. So that's one thing you have to keep in mind is the other bulletin board is not in this building. You know,
Right, but it's
Anytime
got
anything is
redundant.
updated here, we update it there.
you update it there.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
good.
Anything else under old business? We'll move on to new business. It'll be first reading of the budget. So I imagine everybody's got questions for.
I know I've got some. I don't know if you guys want to go section by section. I know he's got some too. If
Yeah.
it'd be easier, how you want to do the, that way we're
However
not
you
bouncing
wanna do
around.
it.
However you want to do it.
If you want to, I would prefer doing all the questions for the general, and then moving over to the straight street, and then moving over to the water and sewer.
Looking at the general, there's 4 line items that had a pretty big increase. I just kind of want to get some clarification on what we're increasing for.
Okay.
The first is 10-420-21 for radio going to $2,000. What is that for?
Actually, that is an increase of $750. Is that the one you're talking about from last year?
It shows blank last year. It said 85 the year before, blank last year, then 2,000
Well,
this year.
okay, so what you're looking at on that sheet where it's blank, that is the estimated expense for 22, 23. That, we haven't spent anything on the radios this year.
Okay.
All right, so the 23, 24 at $2,000, I increased that to I increased it $750 because we didn't lose, but one of our mobile radios was damaged, and we're going to have to replace it.
Okay, I wasn't sure if that was like radio station ads or if that was radios. That's why I
No,
wasn't, I
actual
wasn't sure what that
radios,
line
yeah,
was. Okay.
yeah.
Um,
So, yeah, and moving, what I'm saying is, in that column, it says estimated 22, 23. If there's nothing there, that means we haven't spent anything out of that line item this year.
I got you.
Okay.
For 10-420-28, we're jumping travel significantly. What's that plan for?
Okay,
Nice.
again, that travel for last year was also budgeted at 5,000. We have spent 2,705.
Okay.
So the reason why I looked at the same was we have 2 of our people that are going to be testing for certification, and I left it the same.
Okay.
And once they get their certification, I can reduce that down because they won't have to travel as much.
10-420-90 for various donations. I see we've only used 1,000. We're planning 3,800. What are we
Okay.
using that for?
So on that one, we had different line items that were individual. So we had a line item for, say, I combined all the donations into one line item. We had Chamber of Commerce was one of them. At one time, we gave to the Kids Fishing Rodeo. We had a line item for school donations. We had one for confirmed with was the mission and something else. So instead of having
Senior
so many
citizen.
different lines of donations, I combined them all into one. Okay? And there wasn't an increase in any of those. That was just those line items added up together.
Okay. And then 10-420-95 for Parks and Rec. I don't know what the
Same
budget
thing.
amount, same thing?
Same
left the
thing.
same?
We had beautification. We had the walking trail. We also had, we had City Hall and Park and parking lot. So I took those line items and Christmas decorations. I took those line items and I put them into Parks and Recreation. So we would just have one.
I have some questions on the fire budget, but if anybody's got questions on this section, I'll,
Right on that page, 10-420-43, we're spending $300 on beer. What is that for?
So that is actually, what that is we have to send off a background checks, and that's the expense for that.
That's for background.
Yes.
This doesn't have anything to do, I guess, with anybody here.
No.
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 Beer expense.
not
When
unless
stuff-
unless you're gonna sell beer.
I
No.
was wondering that.
Dr. Pepper.
Yeah, I've got a Diet Coke.
Yeah.
I didn't understand that.
Yeah, that is solely for the background checks that we have to pay for. Mhm.
We're getting into, there's other items we get into labor, up here on 10-420 labor. Now that's not expanded here, but it is on another worksheet that you have.
Yes, that's correct.
There,
That was an increase of $1,500 from last year to this year. So. And then the matching taxes, which is the 10-420-34.
I seen where you
That was
left
a
the,
decrease of $330 on the matching tax.
Well, what you're saying is that line item's going down, but we're raising wages. That's what you're talking about, right? Travis?
it says estimated for 2023. Actually, the last year we spent 135,330, and now we're looking at 155. That's 20,000 more dollars, a little over 20,000.
So the estimated 22-23, that 154,565, that is a full amount that the board passed last year for the labor. So until I get closer to the end of the year, I'm not going to have an exact amount. So I just pulled the numbers that was approved last year and put it there. So the approved payroll for last year was, looks like let me look at my budget. I only have like 4 or 5 of them. Okay. Okay, so yes, the labor was approved at 154,565. I can tell you what I've spent up to this point, if you'd like to know that. That was what the board approved last year. And then for labor, as of 4/24, I don't have our last April pay in here, but as of 4/24, we have spent 128,804.
28,804.
Yes, as of April 24th. Now, the reason why that might be, looks funny like that is because prior to this year, the payroll worksheet was a little bit different, and there was a contingency added to that, which was overtime. This year, I took, in that spreadsheet that I gave you all, I actually looked at everyone's overtime that we had last year, and I put that into the budget as a more exact amount. No, budgets are never going to be exact. It's all a guessing game. But in order to get as close as we could, instead of just putting a random number in there per fund, I took each individual employee and I estimated how many overtime hours they would have.
this and, I didn't give a sheet to the other company, but I figured this up to, under commissioner here, 2 are 65 and 2 are 100. 3 is 100, 2 is 100 a month.
So there's 2 at 65 and 2 at 100, and the mayor gets his mayor pay.
And we got the city manager at 485.
Yes, that's his monthly pay.
Last year, the percentage of increase or the rate increases per person varied quite a bit. You got a 2.1%, office clerk got 9%, office clerk 1, office clerk 2 got 20%. I guess they're bringing them up closer after,
Yeah, office clerk number 2 is,
that was last year.
you're right, yeah, it was,
Water superintendent.
she was at $11 and it was brought up to 13. And we're trying to get the ones who are at the lower pay scale closer to where they need to be and at least have them at minimum wage. So everyone here seems to, it's okay for us to get lower percentage.
Minimum wage is 7.25.
We're trying
so
to
we're not
get,
trying to get minimum
no, I'm
wage.
not saying minimum wage as it's standard, as a law, but as most of the places are trying to make that their new standard.
Water superintendent was 8.25, utility workers were 7.3, and utility worker 2 was 2.5. Labor trainee was 3.3% increase. Now, this year, we're looking at everyone getting a $3.50 raise except for the 2 office clerks. And they're at $2.75 an hour.
No,
increase.
that's, I don't know what you're looking at because the raises for everyone is $2 an hour. And then the water superintendent will get $1.50 once he obtains his last certification. So he'll get $1.50 on the hour extra. And then the water trainee will get $3 and he has 2 certifications to get. But everyone else, the standard across the board is $2.
How I came up with that is I took the 2,080 work hours and divided it by the regular pay amount. The regular pay amount, took it, I came up with hourly. So that's how I came up with it. If you take the, I'm going by the file that you sent to me. Like city recorder, it shows 56,431, you divide that by 2,080 hours. That shows 20, you got 2713 there. That would be the new rate,
Yes.
okay? Last year's rate, I look back at the budget that we got that I was given when you give us back in August.
Mm-hmm.
And it showed you making 2363. And so that would be a $3.50 increase per hour.
My pay rate is $25.13. Let me see if I can find that. Let me see if I have that
You know,
worksheet from
There
last
could be
year.
a misprint, an error. I mean, I'm just going with the figures.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so last year, labor fund 22-23, everything that you're looking at in that column on that piece of paper that says rate for the employees, that is a $2 raise across the board for everyone. So and I have the worksheet from last year if you need to look at it.
Do you mind really quick?
No,
Either
absolutely. You want to
bring it
come
over
get
and
it?
make a copy, whichever one you want to do, or?
Well, I have all kinds of notes and stuff on it. I think I sent Travis a PDF of it.
Yes, you did.
Did you print it? Okay,
I did.
okay. So on the worksheet, you'll see that.
Um,
Are there any employees not getting a raise? Let me ask that.
No. And there's no employees getting any more than anyone else.
What's the fire chief and city manager's raises?
There's no raise for them.
So we do have employees not getting raises.
Well, if you consider, yes. But fire chief isn't really considered an employee.
I'm not-
He gets a stipend.
Chief is,
He's appointed.
elected,
He's
so I don't get it.
elected. Right.
No, I meant the city manager, not the mayor.
But the way you're paying us now indicates that we're employees, because you're deducting FICA.
I have to pay you through payroll. I have to do that. That is the correct way to do that.
We're not employees.
Yes, the stipend for the fire chief is also through payroll. Yes.
Is there a reason we're not giving him an increase?
He didn't ask for it.
I don't think it's his job to ask for it.
I
I think
mean,
that's his boss's job to ask, to give it to him. I would,
I just put
I've
in there
never
what
worked
was
in
on
very-
his budget, and he gave me his budget.
I think he's working hard out there. He needs more than what he's getting. It's not fair for him to not get a raise and everybody else is.
We discussed it before. We wish we could pay out all of them. But
So the answer to your question is, the city manager nor the fire chief got a raise. The full-time employees got a raise, $2 an hour across the board.
I can't speak for the city manager. That may have been at his request. He may not want a raise, but to me, it's not right that some employees wouldn't get a raise and others do. Especially as hard as Matt's working out there. That's just not right. The fire chief. I'm just talking about the fire chief, not the guys, just the fire chief himself.
just
And
the
the
chief.
reason that come about is if there's a case of arson or something where he has to appear to court, it is set up to offset his loss of wages at his regular job. That's the reason why we started this about 8 to 10 years ago.
Plus, he does a lot of paperwork on the grants, and, I mean, he does a lot, really. I mean,
And that man's he's got a full plate as it is, so he's putting a significant amount.
and if
not-
you look at
not-
what he
none of the
makes, if you look at
volunteers
what he makes, he don't, I mean, it ain't.
are. Yeah, very minimal. And pretty much everywhere that's volunteer, most of them around pay the fire chief some kind of stipend. Some of them even pay the firefighter stipends, which I'm not going down that road right now, but
I wish we could,
I don't have my budget with me. I
Okay.
went home last year's, but that's how I came up with that. You divide out with the 2021 budget that I got from you today, went back, and that's how I got the rates. Since I took the amount of the pay and divided it by 2,000.
That was that was not last year's budget, though, the one that you requested.
Right, it was.
It was
one
year
we're
before.
Finishing up, the one before, 20.
The one before this one that we're working on is 22-23. You requested 22-20, you requested 21-22. So that was 2 years ago. 22-23 is what we're sitting in now that has the current wages in
The
it.
one we're sitting in now is 22, 23.
Right,
And the one I requested was the one right before, it would have been 21, 22.
21-22, yes. Mhm. So,
So that's just, and so that's how I came up with where we were, where you went to last year, and where you're going to this year. The numbers
last year
I'm
was
coming-
also a $2 rate increase across the board. And then the fire chief got a raise last year. City manager and mayor did not.
real quick, we were talking about the commission. Is there a reason the commissioners' rates are different?
There is a reason. By state law, you cannot raise a
Okay.
mayor's or commissioner's pay until the next term.
I knew the county had something like that. I didn't know if we did or not.
y'all are under the new
So
term.
midterm, you
Right.
can't have a
Someone's
rate,
on the
you
old.
can't have a
So
rate.
Some of them get
increase.
65, y'all get 100.
The next cycle, those 65s will go to 100.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
That makes
Correct.
sense. I'm good with that.
Mhm.
What percent is that? Percentage for you?
I didn't
It's gonna
figure
be
out
different.
percents. I just did it, I did it on Excel sheet.
I'm getting.
I feel like the lowest one was close to maybe an 8-something percent. And then the higher ones were like 2 point something. I didn't put them down on paper. I just kind of went through there and roughly did it.
Sorry, with me, I just got the current one, just working. I got notes. But I figures.
Do you want to see the one that I have since you don't have it? You want the one that we're sitting in right now, the 22-23?
The one we're sitting in right now, yes.
You want to look at this?
If you divide out, well, we hadn't finished this year out. But should come out. If you
But it's
take
gonna have the
your-
hourly rates right now.
If you,
I'm just talking about the hourly rates are right
right,
here.
the hourly
Mhm.
rate, if you take your pay per year and divide it by the 2,080 hourly rate, you'll come up with something different.
And then also you have to look, also, each fund has a percentage coming out of it too.
Okay, I was just looking at that, I'm all for taking care of it.
So like there's a percentage for each fund that pays for each
Right,
employee.
you get a certain percent, but the first number is the hourly rate, so I had 2713, that's showing 27. These numbers are different.
They are different because what you're looking at that Matt has is the 22-23 budget that we're sitting in right now. The one that you're looking at is the new rates. So they will be different.
Andy got a certification in this budget year, so he had another $1.50 increase there, correct?
He did. He got one of his certifications in
He
the
got
budget
one
we're
this
sitting
year
in.
And every time one of the guys get a certification, they get $1, $1.50.
$1.50.
Which brings you down to, we should have a schedule set up for when you hire in, you're at a certain rate as a trainee or as a beginning pay. And then there should be subsequent increases per year until you should catch up. In other words, if you're a utility worker, regardless if you've been here 10 years and one's been here 5, they should be equal after a certain time. And then you get your cost of living raises.
I'll agree with that, and that should come under, like we've discussed, maybe getting together an employee handbook. And all that be
Set the pay
itemized
schedule.
in there. First 6 months, you make this, your next year, you make this, till you top out, then you're,
I have an appointment with, thank you, John Grubbs with MTask to work on our employee manual, this end of this month.
I
So it is
seen
in
the
the
text
works.
you sent. That's something we need to work on, is that employee policy manual book that clarifies all
That's what I'm,
this.
that's what I'm.
There won't
working
be
on.
any question about what it is.
Exactly.
We've tried 3 times in the past and the board would never take no action
No,
on
they
it.
kicked it out.
They just would, if y'all are willing for us to go through and do this and approve it, it would be great because we went through the work at 3 different occasions in the last 15 or 20 years. And when we get to this point right here, it would get, nobody wants to stir the pot and make anybody mad.
It's a matter of doing things, in order.
I agree, 150%. That's the reason why we presented it.
That's-
You pay a person according to the amount of training, amount of certificates, that, if they gotta meet a certain
Right.
requirement. You're gonna have to pay a superintendent more than a utility worker.
Agreed.
And there has to be a job description. And then you have a pay rate for that job description. And cost of living raises are the same for everybody. And then you got evaluations too.
That's the reason why you see such a broad range in the hourly rate is because there's never been a plan to set a standard. And I know 3 different occasions since I have been up here that it has become before the present board at that time. And you couldn't get a motion made to either approve it or deny it. It just kind of died, I guess you could say.
I know we've
But I agree
discussed it
150%.
before, over having a policy, employee policy or an employee handbook that tells you everything. But like Kenneth said, it's been hard to get it to pass in the years past. But
And I hope that y'all will
this is
jump on it
the
and
new
do it.
board sitting here. I mean, we move forward with it.
I'm working on it. Just give me, I take a little time, looking into it and try to, we can meet together and work on it.
I'm willing to do that.
And then.
I'm
you
sure
could
Leslie
have-
is
there
too.
should be a
I mean, I already
time-
have an appointment this month to work on that manual with Mr. Grubbs. He's an HR specialist. So, I mean, it's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take a few
Right.
meetings to get where we need to get. And
But, you know, the board needs to have input on these things. As well as, you know, I think, because they're elected and representatives of the people, we represent the taxpayers.
Well, you would have to approve it, and in that process, you'll have it beforehand, and you can make all the
It's a lot
changes you
easier to
want
Get
to.
something approved when you work on it.
I mean, yeah, that's fine. I mean, you'll just have to set a working meeting is all.
For example, certificates, that's a requirement that ought to have a time bracket. I'm not so sure, you know, once you've got, a guy's got to become certified, you may have to freeze his raises till he gets his certification.
We got it broke down in 2 certifications. He's got to have 3 certifications to be a certified water operator for the city of Tennessee Ridge. And it was set up, that's an incentive to pass your test and to get it. You go, you take your test, you pass, you got $1.50. You pass the next step, you get another $1.50. He's got one more and he'll be basically topped out.
And they have, some of them has went, of course, the test is hard. You know, they have failed it. They didn't get their money till they finally passed it, you know.
Does the state have a mandated requirement of a time period?
The state has a mandated requirement how many times you can fail a test before you have to go back and get training.
But look,
So if
the
you fail
guys
a
have
test
passed it
twice,
before they got to that point. But
if you fail a certification twice, the state makes you go back and they require you to take a certain amount of hours of training to be able to pass that certification the next time.
And right now, the test that they're taking, the reason it is so hard to pass is it has got the California laws. They want to uniform all water operators. It don't matter what state. If you got a Tennessee state and you want to move to California, you can operate a California Class 1 water system.
it's a universal.
Yeah, and that's the reason why that it's been kind of rough on the treatment side of it. I think Andy
has his treatment.
He
They're having-
does.
They're having to pass tests that don't even, some of the stuff we don't even do here at Tennessee Ridge. I mean, they're just having to be able to do it in California.
But he passed his the 4th go around.
Training has 1 certification and needs 2. And Andy has 2 certifications and needs 1.
And there again, after they get their certifications, you know, that's a pretty high demand for people like that. And you got to pay them or they're going to be gone. And you're going to be doing it all over again.
When Justin, right, and the water trainee, once he gets all of his certifications, he's going to be the assistant water superintendent. He just won't make the same money that the superintendent will.
Going to the fire chiefs, am I reading it right? He's the only one that doesn't get a Christmas bonus as well?
Yeah, I talked to, I don't know if it was Grubbs that I talked to from MTS, but because I asked about him being an employee and getting a Christmas bonus, and his response was, he's really not an employee, he gets a stipend. So that's why the mayor doesn't get a bonus, city manager does. If you all want to add that, that's totally up to you. I don't think there's a nay or a no or yes answer to that.
I think for me, I wouldn't be able to pass a budget where he doesn't get treated like everybody else, and we're getting big pay raises, so he needs a pay raise and he needs the bonus as well. Otherwise, I'm not going to be able to be on board with it.
What are you proposing to pay him to increase to?
He's making $250 a month right now. Is that right? I'd
Yes,
say
he was.
$300 a month to start out. I mean,
$50 a month.
unless somebody has a different mind, that would just be a number for me to throw out there. I mean, not a huge, I mean, everybody else is getting a pretty big raise. $50 to me is not a huge
Well,
amount.
I would like to
but-
propose, I mean, I thought that the city manager should get a raise also then.
Yeah, and I'm fine with that. I didn't know if that's something he opted to forego, but I don't see why anybody should not get one.
I don't have a problem with bumping him up to 3,500 a year, which that's probably a little bit better than, what would we say, 50 a month? Is that what you said?
That's about to be about
Yeah, I
right.
was just spitballing a number out there that I thought everybody could live with, probably.
That's actually 36.
That's 291 if you do 3,500 a month, or 3,500 a year.
Oh. Yeah. 290, 300.
It's 3,600.
3,600, we get the 300 a month.
$3,600.
It's 3,600 at 300 a month.
It's a $600 a year raise increase.
That's what I would propose, but I'm open to discussing if somebody has something different. And then we can discuss the city manager, what we think there.
The problem in the past is with the raises on the fire department, there wasn't $500 or $600 increments. There was actually wanting several thousand, and it was not feasible. I don't really see where it would be a problem doing that. Do you, Leslie?
No. I mean, the board has to vote on the raises. I mean, in general with the budget. So, I mean, as long as you all are supporting the fire chief and you're supporting the city manager, you also support your employees that actually run the city day in and day out and do the best job that I know of, because they're all committed to it. So as long as you're just as big about supporting your full-time employees as you are your fire chief, then I don't have an issue with anything.
Yeah, that's my only issue with this page. I mean, I got other issues with the budget, but this page is city manager if he wants it, the fire chief, and then adding the bonus to the fire chief. Outside of that, I don't have any major problems with this page. I think with the cost of inflation and things going up and getting quality employees, you gotta be competitive. I think we've gotta take care of them.
Yeah.
And I'm not around every day to see it all, but everything I see, our employees are doing a good job, so I don't have any objection to that. I think at some point, we probably need to look at if we're doing dollar per hour raises, maybe set up a standard percentage, or
I
maybe a cost of living plus a performance-based part of it or something.
I think the cost of
Versus
living
just-
this year was over 8%.
Yeah.
And the reason why it's across the board right now is that it's actually more cost efficient for the city.
Well, and plus if you bump somebody to
Because
15.
if
then
you
try to
take
get the
someone
next
who's already
person
making
in,
almost
so
30 at
it's-
8%, yeah.
We do,
But with the handbook, I think we need to look at doing a standard cost of living raise or cost of living plus performance or some kind of metric.
we do
versus random.
periodically too. Every couple of 3 years, we do a study around us of what the people of the same classification make.
It's like a pay study.
And we do a pay study, and we try to keep it not on the high end, not on what, we try to keep it midway. So we're in the ballpark with everybody. Of course, we can't compete with
City
Montgomery
clerk.
County, their tax rate, but Dover,
I think you have to
Henry
be careful
County.
with the performance based because of it's just human. When people evaluate, emotions come out.
Oh,
You just
yeah.
have to be
And
real
I would say I'd be fine with cost of living or cost
Yeah.
of living, or however we want to do it.
Right.
We just need to come up with something that is structured, not every year, it's just kind of a random, how much are we going to do
No,
this year?
I've said this 2 months, and I have an appointment this month to try to
I'll
work
give
on
it.
that manual.
And I guess we need
Prior
figure out
to-
for-
Prior to the 22-23, that was the first year that they ever got any kind of pay raise like what they got. Usually, since my days of being up here, it's been
50
quarter
cents.
to 50 cents.
50 cents on the hour up to,
And 50 cents was great in 1990. 50 cents isn't so great in 2023, 24 when,
nope,
you
not
know.
with
Right.
things, the way things are now. It's-
And I'm open to discuss this with something different, but I would just propose do $50 a month to the city manager as well. So we're giving the fire chief, bump him as well.
I'm perfectly fine where I'm at. Seriously. I mean, I don't need to up my income bracket anymore at the present time. I'm just saying.
I mean, I can always take a bump, so
Yeah.
I'm just saying, Andy's not the only one who needs certifications around here, so.
Well, that's true. Well, I mean, and that's something to look at in our handbook.
Now, another thing I noticed, and I didn't know we did this, we do contribute to a retirement account, which is very important,
Yes, we do. 5% of the regular pay for each employee.
which is very good.
Yes.
Because I work for a global company, and they only give us 3%.
I only get two.
You only get 2, and you work for a big company. So
Of course,
that is
Kenna's
very
under.
good, 5% are the employees required to match?
No, it's volunteer on the employee side. They can put in as much as they want to, or they don't have to contribute at all.
That's another thing, when you get into your employee handbook. Now, our company would put in 3% for us if you matched it. If you put in 2%, they'd put in 2%. I put in 3%, the company would put in 3%, but they stopped at that. And you could go on up and put 50% of your pay in your retirement if you wanted to, but the company would only go to 3%. And that way, that encourages you to save for retirement, because that slips up on you when people are retired. They don't have a retirement.
I wished I'd have saved more back when I was younger instead of buying boats and motorcycles.
Yeah, no joke.
So that's another thing we need to keep in mind, you know. I think that the employee should be required to match what we match. That's a company standard. I mean, you work at any company, that's the way it is. Well, if they do that
Well,
part-
no,
I'll have
we're-
to research because,
I'm not, we have a retirement with the TCRS, which you guys have the 457B, is that correct?
we do, but we don't have it with the state of Tennessee.
Right, so it's separate. We
Basically the
have
same.
both. The 457B is optional, you put into it. I don't think the city of Clarksville matches, or they do match, but I don't know what the percentage is. We're not required, ours is coming out of our check anyway, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, ours is a
457
457
right.
plan, and I don't know that you can force.
I mean, it's voluntarily for us,
Yeah.
like,
It would be volunteer for anyone. It was voluntary for us. We weren't required to put anything in the retirement account. The company would match what you voluntarily
Okay.
required up to 3%. So when you go up to, it's up to the employee.
So if the employee can't afford at that moment, though, to pay their retirement, they're not getting anything. Is that correct? So if they can't afford to put $50 a week in their paycheck, say they're,
Well, you could-
young or whatever, so if they don't match it, then they don't put anything in, then the city doesn't, or the company doesn't put anything in. Is that how that works?
That's how that works.
So you're kind of basically forcing them to, in a way, because it's like, we're not going to help you if you don't help yourself type thing, I guess.
People will do what they want to do. Bottom line, usually they will do what they want to do. They'll find a way. But that's something to think about.
We can think about
You
it.
could use a certain percentage,
I know there was a time when I wouldn't have been able to pay my retirement. If it wasn't for the city, I wouldn't have had anything. Circumstances sometimes don't always.
You could put a minimum in there to encourage an employee, say, we'll give you up to 3%, and then we'll give you 2 more if you contribute 2 more. 2%, I mean, you're gonna buy a Coke for $2, this and that. People find a lot of times it just comes down to budgeted. But anyway,
Definitely something to look
that's in the
into.
future, that's not in this, gonna make this pass or fail this budget. But my numbers here, now, I'll get my papers out.
Okay, please do.
I'm seeing something different here, and I know I check my numbers. But the pay rates right now are listed right here. If you take the salaries over here and divide them by hour, it gives you the rate.
Are you talking about the one we're looking at right now?
I'm talking about the 2024.
Okay.
And so that would come out, and you tell me if I'm right or wrong, that would be, office clerk 1 would be 15.25. Office clerk 2 would be 12.25.
Are you looking at the percentage that each fund is paying, though? Because that's not always going to be, that's not 100% for each of these employees, is what I was trying to explain earlier. So what I'm trying to say is.
He's looking
is-
at the one that you printed off for me.
Okay, that doesn't have everything on there that you probably need to see, because
So this, what I'm looking at here is incorrect.
it is correct. You're just not looking at all of it. So, let's see. All right, if you roll all the way over, okay, I'm sorry. Let me apologize for that. So farther over in the page, it breaks everything down as far as how much the general fund pays, sewer, state, street aid, and then how
I'm
much.
just looking at the regular.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Pay amount and the hour, and, you know, the number of hours.
You're on column 1 and 2, right?
Right.
After each employee's
I'm on
title.
column 2 and 3.
2 and 3, yeah.
Well, yeah,
Are you looking at the total compensation, or are you looking at,
okay, column 1 gives you the.
column 1 is the rate,
That you're going to.
yes. And then the column F, which says regular pay amount, that is without any type of overtime
Uh-huh,
or Christmas bonuses.
right.
And
You
then-
don't need that in there to get the hourly rate. You don't need the overtime.
Right, the overtime is farther at the total compensation side.
I'm not looking at the total cost, I'm looking at the regular pay. That would give you the hourly rate.
I mean, that's what I'm coming up with, I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I've got here. I took the hourly rate, but,
So if you take the regular pay amount and you divide it
By the 2,080 hours.
by 2,080, you're going to come up with 2713,
she's saying-
18.
She's saying these numbers here from last year's budget.
Well, not that last year's budget, she's saying these are no different from your budget. She's saying these are not last year's numbers. So you weren't making 2363 last year.
No,
Yeah, those were no.
Right now, you're not making.
no, I wasn't, no, I didn't last year either. That's 2 years ago that you're
Now,
looking
when I
at.
say last year, we're talking about, this is till to June, we're still in the same
Right,
budget year.
last
So we-
year I didn't make that. And 22, 23,
Currently, you're not making,
Current.
you're not making 2363.
no,
Right.
no,
That's the year before, the fiscal year before, is what she's saying.
So you made less than that. But if you subtract, okay, you're going to 2713.
from 2513,
If you take, okay, you make 25.
yes.
If you multiply the 2713 by 2,080, you come up with the 56,431.
Right, I know that, I got that. Anyway,
I think it's because you don't have the rates right now that we're sitting in.
I've got it. Yeah. What I'm looking at is something that you can do from year to year. You can't, in other words, you can't come in one year and do 10, 14% or 9%. You need something that you can, sustainable, you can do, you can repeat it next year. Most of the time, you're going to be looking at 2 to 3% once you top out.
Mhm.
At a top out rate, it's probably going to be more around 2% or 1.5%. I worked for a company that was worldwide. You know, and, but that's very similar to what most companies do. Depending, I don't know, on hourly, I'm not talking about hourly, I don't know, yeah, salaries a little different.
We negotiate our contracts 3 years at a time. We sit down and negotiate with Meriwether Lewis, and we sign a contract, a certain percentage every year for 3 years. We have signed a 5-year contract. We usually get 3%, have got as high as 5 on a multi-year contract. I mean, that's something, you know, employees just come sit down and negotiate something like that out, you know.
I'm on sustainability. That's what I'm talking about. And your people are your most important asset.
Mm-hmm.
It's your people. And so I'm all for, you know, taking care of our people. Retirement, accounts, and We pay insurance. I noticed that on there. That's,
We pay up to $425 a month. We don't pay insurance per se. It's a reimbursement program.
okay. So you don't pay 80% and the employee
No.
pays 20%?
No, like if an employee's insurance is $700 a month, the city only pays $425 of that. It is a ceiling. It's capped.
They bring
$425.
us a copy of their spouse's insurance and what it costs to insure them.
Or their own insurance, whatever.
Or their own
whatever
insurance,
they
either
have.
way.
We looked into trying to get onto the state insurance and the city couldn't afford it.
So we're not
It
giving
was
insurance at all through the city.
No,
Okay.
we do
We're
not
giving
have an
them
insurance
compensation
program.
So
towards
just like
their
just insurance stipend, just go get your own insurance and
We pay, what is it now,
No.
$425.
$425?
And that's not been increased in
Been 3 or 4 years. It's been a
somewhere
while.
in that neighborhood. And we entertained the thought for 2 or 3 different years. And there's just no way to make the numbers work. I mean, you're looking at
expensive.
basically,
You know, we went
we've
to.
got an older workforce. If we had all young people, it would be cheaper. But all of our workforce is getting on up in years and they charge you for that.
And you have to have a minimum. And I mean, we only have 7 full-time employees that would even be eligible. And 4 of them were getting insurance through their spouse. They didn't want insurance. So we didn't even hit the minimum requirement is through the state of Tennessee for insurance.
Clarksville's went to a kind of a initiative program where you have to get compliant because the insurance was so high, it was skyrocketing because people were unhealthy, you know. Now you have to meet certain benchmarks to even get your money. They'll give you money towards your deductible. If you don't meet those benchmarks and you're not compliant, you don't get nothing. But it's still super expensive to even entertain that.
It is.
I know, I've seen the numbers.
Again, I think once we get the employee handbook, we get a lot of things, you know, you get job descriptions and stuff like that. A lot of this will,
It take care of
I
itself.
think it'll improve.
It will.
we reach a resolution agreement on what we're gonna do with the city manager. I know we got the fire chief.
I'm good with the fire chief and I'm good where I'm at.
You good where you at?
We need a motion.
I don't think we need a motion, unless it's just gotta.
She just
I
added the
can,
budget.
I'll make the changes and then, I mean, you can, if we answer everyone's questions tonight, you all can pass the first reading and then I can make the changes and come back. If we don't get through it, then we can have a special call meeting next week. Then we can, work on budget and budget only and do the first reading then. It's totally whatever the board wants to do.
So,
So do you want to move on to something else? Are we,
Yes.
you ready to, okay, all right.
I am, but I'm still in the general fund.
Okay, let me get to my screen.
Looking at the fire department one specifically.
So let me say, James is not here, but James presented his budget to me. We worked on it together, and this is what we came up with together as a unit.
I'm fine with the base of it. I think my issue is, and I wasn't on the board the last 2 times it happened, but I just was around it and heard the discussion of it. But one thing that I think we have a problem is, right now, all 3 of their fire engines are 30 plus years old. And the last 2 fire engines that were bought were 25, 30 years old. And that's just not sustainable. I mean, NFPA doesn't even recognize a fire truck that's 30 years old. We got one that barely makes it up the hill on 49 in Mobley Lane. And it seems like every time they go to buy a fire truck, it's a fight to try to scrounge up $20,000 that you're buying another 30-year-old truck that's already end of life. So I don't understand. To me, I think we need to set up a budget for them where each year we put X amount of dollars in, and the only thing that fund can be used for is fire apparatus replacement. So every 4 or 5 years, they've got money saved up, they can go buy a fire truck without having to go through, and we had to scrounge around and find $15,000, $20,000 for them for an obsolete truck. So to me, we need to add a line item that gives them a continuous capital line just for fire apparatus replacement. They can't buy turnout gear out of it, they can't buy laptops, whatever, but we've got to find a way to replace these apparatus. What we're doing now is not working.
I will have to, I don't know how to do that in the budget. I know that any unspent funds go back to the general, so I'll have to research and find out how to do that correctly.
Couldn't we do a capital outlay note on it?
A note, that's borrowing money.
I mean, it is what it is.
We
You
not
save it or you borrow it.
I
to
mean,
do a
I just
capital
went to
outlay.
a county budget committee meeting, and the county is getting a grant. Why do we have to just do all of it alone? Why can't we try to
Right.
get a grant? I mean, there's grants out there. They're getting a brand new fire truck. So I would suggest doing research on getting a grant. And then whatever we have to match, we could do a possible loan on that. But I would definitely wouldn't say.
I don't disagree with that on get one, but you're not going to get a grant every 5 or 6 years to get a new apparatus. That's not sustainable.
So you want to get a new fire truck every 5 years?
I'm not saying a new fire truck at all, something that's 15 to 20 years old, that's going to have a 10 to 15-year shelf life versus buying ones that are already obsolete, we can't get parts for and stuff. It's
Well,
just
I know
not-
I'm still depreciating the older one, the ones you say are old. I still have to depreciate those because they still have life to them. So they are being depreciated.
But to me,
still.
every time they come up here, it's a fight to get $20,000 to buy a 30-year-old apparatus, and that's just not sustainable or right. So I don't know if we put a thing in the line item, or if we want to say every 5 or 6 years, they want to come to the board and ask for $75,000, $80,000 out of the general account. I don't know how you guys want to do that, but we've got to figure out a way to replace these apparatus, and $20,000 every few years that they get scrounged for is not the answer.
The volunteer department, what I'm wondering is if you had a brand new fire truck sitting there, it's no good unless somebody is able to come and get in it and go to the fire when the fire happens. And we didn't, we're not
And a lot of our calls assist the county too.
We do a lot of those.
We do a lot of assists. We don't do very many in the city. So I can't spend $80,000 for 4 fires in a year. And just for it to run up and down for the county either.
I mean, the other option is we could look at, if that's our theory on it, most of it's county calls, we could just consolidate and give it to the county and write them a check every year to provide fire protection.
Well, we discussed
been
that
my-
1 year too.
That's been my thoughts for a while.
I mean, we could work with if they look at, say, okay, we're running 6 house fires a year at the Ridge versus maybe 5 car fires, come up with something that, okay, this is how many we're running the Ridge. Bring your members over, put them on here, turn over your apparatus to help out a little bit, and then write them a check every year for X number of dollars, whatever the fire chief and the county thinks the impact would be to them to.
In the last few months, we have not had any Condition Ridge calls. It's all been mutual aid.
And that's the way we did the police department up here. We give it over to the county.
So I could research that and see what we can do as far as having a line item in the budget that doesn't flow back to the general fund.
We could do that, or if we think consolidation might be the way to go, maybe we explore that, but I guess what I'm saying right now, the equipment they have is not adequate. And so it's risky every time you roll it out. We had a house fire not too long ago that we got one of the engines that couldn't pump water on it. It's outdated equipment, and so it's a coin toss whether it's gonna work that time or not, and that's just not, our citizens deserve better than that. If they're, maybe.
Right,
they'll
our
catch fire.
citizens do, and I'll agree with that. But I'll say that one time in the past, we had it to where that particular unit could not roll outside the city limits. We kept what the city taxpayers paid for, stayed within the corporate boundaries. I don't believe the board would have a problem with doing anything like that. I just hate to wear a new truck that we bought, and the present rate we're running more calls out of the county than we do in the county. That's just my thoughts on it.
The only downside of that is if you go that route, then the county and the city are gonna look at you, the city here, and are gonna look at you, okay, if you're not coming out here, we're not coming in there. So when you have a house fire, you're gonna be stuck.
I mean,
Totally
but we are
understand
doing
that.
mutual aid.
Right. But if we tell them, hey, we're not running county calls anymore, they're gonna stop coming here too.
I'm not saying we'll stop running county calls. I'm just saying the new apparatus, keep
I got
it
you.
within the corporate boundaries.
I got you.
We'll roll with the older trucks that we've got.
If we did get a new one, it stays in the city limits.
I get, and like I said, by no means, we don't need a new apparatus out here. It's not practical, it's not feasible or reasonable.
Right.
We need better.
We're looking for something and, well, what we've got 20 to 30,000 in, the best I remember. Everything that me and Trent looked at the last time we bought was 80 to 100 and used about a 10 to a 15-year-old apparatus. So, and that's one thing, most of these come out of big cities, and what's their longest call? Usually 3 mile radius,
Yeah.
4 mile, we'll do that halfway to a call. And that puts a lot of, undue miles. And these old trucks wasn't really made to do that. But I do understand the mutual aid because we've had it ever since I was chief up here 35 years ago. Do understand it. And most of the time, whenever in the old days, we didn't have but 3 fire trucks. Aaron had 2 and we had an old 79 Ford. And we rolled it in a brush buggy. But the last time I had anything to do talking about mutual aid, they was talking more of a manpower thing because they always said, look, we've got the equipment. We just ain't got the manpower to get it there.
Right.
But no, I'm not saying just stop
I
the
got you. I
mutual
misunderstood
aid.
you. You're just saying that keep the front line apparatus here, send the reserve.
Right, because the
Back up.
taxpayers here bought it. And then if we need it, it'll be
here.
here. That's just that's always been my thoughts on that. And no disrespect for anybody else we got mutual aid with. I mean, hey,
No,
Dover
'cause we're a
brought
small
their,
county and we need mutual aid in order to.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that's reasonable.
Reach
I
the
think
call.
Yeah, I
that's-
think, I think
I
we
mean,
will.
if you got 3 apparatus, there's nothing wrong with saying, okay, keep this one in the city limits, roll these 2. That's absolutely reasonable. Because like I said, usually it is manpower, sometimes a water shuttle that we need.
that was one of the reasons when we bought the old tanker that we bought, which I didn't realize we'd had it quite as long as we had.
Well, we bought it to keep our,
I know
ISO
what we
ISO
have is
ratings up.
older, but the fire department has gotten two used trucks in the past 2 years. That's more that I've seen in a long time. So it's not like the board is trying to ignore the needs. They're just trying to meet the needs according to what can be afforded at the time. So we received grant money, we bought a truck. We got that direct appropriation grant, we bought a truck.
We used to end up getting all the Air Force hand-me-downs, and they was like 35-year-old when we got them, those yellow ones. I think we had 2 yellow ones up here at one time, and
The
they both come.
justification is calls versus what's needed versus, the cost. We only have 1,300 citizens, and they have to buy that. That's their money, So. What else do you have on that map?
That's all there. I want to hear how we're going to plan on looking at that.
well, I mean, I agree. We need to put some money back for it.
I don't much care if we do it with the savings account or the general fund, but every time we try to spend general fund, I get told we can't do that, so.
I think Kenneth, had good ideas on that.
I mean, if you want to do a capital purchase, you do need to put it in your budget. You see right in front of you how much revenues we have at the end of the year. If you go all the way down to 159, well, you all don't have that, I'm sorry. It's at the very end of the general fund. So if you want to do a capital purchase, you need to put it in your budget. And it needs to be planned for. But you're talking $80,000 to $100,000.
You might as well figure 100 nowadays.
So we're 75 to 100,000 to get one that's, if
Yeah.
we get one that's 15 years old,
Right. It's,
and then we say, okay, we're gonna have it for 15 more years to get it to 30. They got 3 trucks, it's buying one every 5 years, so you're looking at 15 to 20,000 a year basically to do a savings, if you do it through that. Now, if you gotta do it out of the budget once every 5 years, I don't know how you do that because that's hard to.
I mean, I definitely will look into that. I feel like there's a way that we can do this every year and have it per se set aside just for that
It needs to be
purpose.
untouchable. This is apparatus only. This is not, I said, not turnout gear. This is not, we need a new heater. We need new computers.
I'm all for letting the fire chief manage his. Now, he's bringing us reports now regularly
every month. Yeah.
so that we can use that for applying for grants. Am I correct?
I don't know
Showing
how
you're
that
doing
works. I've never applied for a fire department grant, so I
They
don't
are
know.
extremely, extremely.
But
competitive.
it also takes an effect, I do know, the financial status of the city
It does.
per se. That's
And
a
if you're
big thing
looking
of it.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but this is saying right now we got planned, now it could change obviously, but right now we're planning for $150,000 in revenue over what we're planning to spend. Obviously, stuff's gonna come up, it's
The
gonna change.
150, yes.
So if they see that you're budgeting $150,000 that you're not planning to spend with a $1.7 million fund balance, it's gonna be extremely hard to get a grant for a fire truck. That stuff is all need-based, and that doesn't indicate need.
What you need, what I'm saying to let him manage it there is do the training programs, bring in, we had a training session. It doesn't matter if you had a brand new fire truck there, I wouldn't know how to start to run that thing and put out a fire because I've never been trained.
Well, right now,
They
You
do
already
have
get
yearly
members.
training.
right now their roster is full. They have no room for new members.
And they need to train and we need some way to show that on paper and report it. And that way you're showing what you're doing and justifying a need.
They log that every Tuesday night they meet and they have a training roster of what they go over and who all was there and all that. They log all that.
They've been training for the water rescue. They do their training through TARS. So I feel like most of it is like required. They have to have so much training a year.
And they've been really good about getting grants. I mean, they got grants for that water equipment, they got grants for a trailer, they got computers, they got some turnout gear. I mean, they're working hard out there to get what they can, but those fire apparatus grants are extremely competitive and extremely need-based. And when you put competitive as far as looking at, okay, one department runs 4 calls a year in their district versus one that runs 30, and then financial balance.
You
is
just don't,
extremely hard to
you
get.
can't, it's hard to show that need.
Right.
When you only have 4 calls a year.
And if you land one, it's gonna be a long time before you get another one for an apparatus, because when you get one that's for a new apparatus, I mean, the county's gonna spend $600,000 on one, I think.
The last one that was got by the county that I can remember, you remember the new truck we had up here before we split?
No.
They've actually still
I
got
don't.
it. We had back before when we was covering the west end of the county and Aaron was covering the east.
Oh, yeah.
George bought a new truck and they got that on a grant. They might have done a capital outlay note on that.
I don't know how they
That's
got
been
it.
several years ago. That's probably been 20.
I know in 2020, they went for the CDBG grant and got turned down for the fire apparatus, and they got it this year finally.
And that's what's bad about the CDBGs is trying to figure out your want versus needs.
And I promise you, the county budget was in a lot worse shape than this when they got turned down 2 years ago.
Sundries, what are sundries?
It's miscellaneous.
Paper.
Well, we got office supplies for
A lot of those
that,
office
so, yeah.
supplies on there.
So a lot of times, like in vehicle, I'm just throwing these lines items out so I don't, think it's the truth, like it's wrote in rock here. But sometimes if a line item is getting low, say vehicle maintenance, and we're needing something, I can pull that need out of sundry. If I need to order water bills that are extremely expensive and my office supply line item is a little low, I can pull it out of the water and sewer sundries.
You did a good job representing us at the E911 meeting, speaking up in behalf of Tennessee Ridge. But we pay $1.50, everybody does, for their phone and E911 cost. Last year, we voted, it was, I wasn't on this, but I remember, read it was one time to E911. I'm wondering, the county, I think is the money, that money comes into the county, but I think it's going to the county. Or I don't know where it goes. It doesn't come to.
It goes to
Tennessee
EC, it goes to the 911 center.
Ridge. Goes to the
It goes to
911.
911, yes. What you're speaking about, the $1.50 per call, goes directly to ECD.
Yeah, they got, E911 board has its own budget. It goes directly into that. It doesn't go through the county.
Maybe the county is talking about taking that over. They were part of the county, weren't they, or were they?
They are a separate utility type district, but they run through the county.
What happens is when that money comes in, it's not enough to cover, so the county supplements what bridges the gap, basically. And this charge is our portion of bridging the gap.
It is the portion that the county pays. Mhm. It is 8%. So the revenues that come in, all revenues go to the ECD. They get whatever they get from the state of Tennessee. I don't have it in front of me. But I want to say it's like $400-something thousand, I think.
What
is
did
all.
you wind up budgeting for that this year?
I think I put 71 in there, I think.
They was asking
That
for
sounds right.
They were originally asking for almost
14.
14.
Mhm.
So you got it
I spent
half.
many hours with the
46 to
911 board.
72.
And what made us all mad last year
What?
was we got our arm twisted
Oh,
to
yeah.
pay the 5,000.
Right.
And it did, we did pay the county last year.
We do. The state doesn't. That E911 fee on the phone bill, that goes directly to them. But
Oh, yeah, yeah.
then the county writes them a check.
Yeah,
We
the
write the
city
county a
pays
check.
the county.
Yeah.
Or we did last year. I don't know what's, you're on the board.
So
too,
what happens is
911 board.
the county will pay the shortage per se of the expenses of that 911 is short. They only get so much money a year. Well, it costs way more than what they receive to run 911. So what happens is the county pays that shortage that's
Right.
left. And then we pay the 8% of the county's portion of
Right.
it. And that's where
And
our
the city
pay
of
comes
Aaron
in.
pays
16.
16%.
And that's because they have police and fire. We just have
Right,
fire.
right. So, but last year, it was like $5,000, what was it? A little over $5,000, and it was going from that to 14,000, which,
I want to say the actual budgeted amount that I'm getting ready to lose my battery here. We've been here a long time. I want to say it's like 6,600. It even went down even lower than what the 72 is, but I left that in there because it gives us a little bit of cushion because the county has not passed their budget yet. So,
but we totally agree with you. We did last year.
Why are we bridging the gap only in the last 2 years?
Well, we discussed this last year, if, for multiple nights. And
it's not that we shouldn't have been, I guess you could say. It's just that we were never asked or told to.
we was forced.
What we could never find,
So we're gonna share you
Yeah.
grant money.
back when 911
Right.
first started, we had one fire department. The powers to be come up with agreement, but nobody could find this in writing. All we dispatch is fire. So they said we didn't make nothing off of fire, so they wasn't gonna charge us a dispatching fee. But there is nothing wrote down nowhere on a piece of paper stating that. That's just kind of everybody sitting at a
We
meeting.
also have a good thing in here. It's called, that you call and it rings everybody's number at one time.
They're working toward that.
I saw that in here. You know what I'm talking about.
I don't think I do.
Yeah, it's an IP-based program. They just,
360. No, it's one call.
Oh, that's Tennessee One Call. That is where, that's locates for our water lines.
If you're gonna
That's what
dig,
that
call
is.
it.
That's-
Yeah.
So if someone's
Dedication
doing
for water line.
that, yeah,
We
it's
do one
location.
call at church, so if the pastor wants to tell
Right.
everybody a prayer request, he goes.
Goes-
No.
right, yeah.
No,
Everybody's.
no,
fine.
Tennessee
One
One Call
call,
is
that's-
where,
That's 811.
yeah, it's 811. It's where we have to be part of that. So if somebody needs our water lines located,
So
they'll let us
if
know.
the fire chief had that same system, we paid for that. Our church does that and it gets, it notifies everybody that wants to be notified. You could notify everybody that,
Well,
and
that's
dispatch.
true.
Because they're volunteered to put it right on their phone.
We do have it. If we get it on our phone.
You've got that.
All the firefighters get it.
It's I am responding.
It's part of the, what is it, Matt?
So I'm still confused.
All
as why
responding.
we're having-
You have to pay for that all responding though.
Yeah, there's a fee for it. I
Yeah.
don't know which line item he takes it out of, but there's an annual fee.
It's out of his fees.
And whenever we get a call, we all get a text alert on our phone,
Mm-hmm.
and the app itself goes off. So you get 2 alerts. You get one from the app, and it sends you a text.
But it
message.
comes through 911. You just
Yes.
don't get it.
Right.
It has to go through 911.
It's based off their CAD. So when they put the
Right.
call in and they ping it in Tennessee Ridge and put us on it, then it sends it to our phones.
And you've got something else in the mix there, is now that's where our activation for our tornado sirens are. So they're actually the ones that set them off, turn them off and on for us when there's a warning that comes through.
That is true.
We had a antiquated system and we updated it 2 years ago. We got the first bunch of ARPA money that we got, we actually updated the tornado sirens and then moved a button on their console.
I'm losing battery, so
I have nothing else in the general.
like I'm afraid I'm gonna lose my screen here.
We got a lot of budget left, so I don't know if you guys want to, I don't know what you want to do, but we can keep going, but I don't have anything else in the general side.
Travis, do you have any more questions on the general?
I still don't see why we have to subsidize that 911 or not eat.
Well,
911 shared
I'm going to
costs,
tell
but-
you what, I'm not going to say that I agree with this one way or the other, but I will say that there's a state law that says that we're supposed to.
Basically, if we don't pay it, they can tell us they're not going to dispatch for us anymore. We got to set up our own dispatch.
So that brought up a new question
Yeah.
last year. We discussed all this, that if we did, I mean, we looked at that, not paying it. And they said they could shut us off from dispatching. But is that something that they would have done? I hope not. But, and then we talked to MTAST and
Well, and then of course.
Sid got Sid's opinion on it, but I think Sid was on board with other things.
We
but-
all have strong feelings about it.
Yeah, everybody has strong feelings.
I think it needs to be done, but the system,
That's what we talked about, was like double tax, we thought.
We could dispatch fire out to the county. So, you know, it's probably unfair.
It looks like it's double taxation.
Tennessee really just like it was on the other things.
Same thing, to me it is.
and I'll tell you, me and the 911 director went round and round and round and round, trying to hash this out when I was out at EMS out there, but I don't agree with it either, but I think it's one of those things that ultimately you got to pick your battles, and this is probably not one that's worth.
You have more.
That's kind of way, that's kind of the way it wound up. When we finally paid it, we lost the battle,
Yeah,
but
and no more, I mean, it sounds bad, but no more money than it is, we stand to lose a lot more than we stand to gain
Right.
if we get in that fight.
that's the way we finally come to the conclusion on it.
If they come asking for a big number, it's a fight maybe having, but for that number, it's not worth that fight.
So that's kind of what we.
The first number we got, in my opinion, was worth the fight.
Yeah.
But this number here, I think, is a livable.
It was, yeah.
Yeah. $14,000 was
Fightable.
that was fightable.
Is your street aid fund part of the general fund?
No, sir. Completely separate. The street aid fund is completely funded by the state of Tennessee. It's part of our shared tax that we receive.
Gas tax.
This is the last page of that general, that starts the next section of budget. I have nothing in the streets. Other than, I guess, do we have any big street projects planned already?
I hope not, because we don't really have that much in there.
Okay, that was my concern.
We've got the money back here. What I'm looking at this ending fund balance in the general fund, can it be used in the street fund?
It can't, well, you can't mix it, but you can use your
Good
general
borrow.
fund toward paving projects,
For
yes,
paving projects?
Yes.
That answers my question.
yes.
That's not going to take care of the streets. You gotta have some way to do that.
About 55,000 a mile right now.
He's not lying.
Mm-hmm.
I got a price last year on it.
Yeah, because we was gonna do a little paving.
We ran through our budget, paving roads in about 3 months. We're just now where we can pave. That was in October. Our new budget is coming in July for Montgomery Clarksville. So we ran through a paving budget that quick because the prices are just, and somebody didn't, it went up that much and they didn't.
We all gravel dirt roads now.
Yeah, we going back that was 25 years ago.
that's something we gotta look at. We need more money in a street fund budget for that.
I
But
think the last
you-
time we did
you
street,
can only, the revenues that are up there,
Uh-huh.
that are listed, those are the only revenues that can go into that fund,
And
yes.
this is all gas tax and all this stuff the
Yes,
state
it's
collects.
state gas tax, it's the gas increases.
the last couple of
Gas and motor,
paving projects that I know we've done up here, we, done a paving note, a street
Mhm, we had a
fund,
couple,
and just
yeah.
borrowed the capital outlay money and just paid them all. Done them all and just done a payment,
We
paid them
just
all.
paid our last one off last.
Just paid
year.
it off. As a matter of fact, we just, I think right now we're clear.
well, that's, yeah, the only general fund we have now is.
Yeah.
this building.
And every road that we've got in the city could actually use a cap of pavement on.
Okay. So there's no questions in the gas?
I don't have
Good.
anything.
I don't
Okay.
have,
I'm assuming, looking at water and sewer, that you did this with Andy, just like you did the fire chief, and he's good with it.
Yes.
I don't know enough about it, so if he's saying he's
Yes.
good with it, I'm gonna take his word for it and support him.
We talk, yeah.
It balances, it covers his needs, I'm good with it.
I know we just
We
finished.
have, I can tell you where we have our increases. I increased, of course, electricity, because, as we know, the rates have went up. So that was increased 18,000 from last year. We increased the vehicle maintenance, 1,600, because we need new tires. We also increased air and sewer treatment, even though we hopefully will soon be using our own pumping, our own force main. It's still an increase from what was budgeted in the last year's budget. I think it was like 35,000. It's nowhere near what it needs to be. We increased what we are buying from City of Erin as far as water, and we increased water supplies by 10,000.
We have found some substantial leaks in the last month. I think Andy told me last week, 2 days he pumped from there in 1 hour each day. So that, our water tank at Gray's Crossing is staying around 21, 22 feet. It ain't been that way in a long time. The hole in the tank, that's one thing. We found a leak on Moore Holler Road down on the Hurricane Loop area. And there was one more he told me about that had a pretty good leak. that-
Lakeview Circle,
Yes,
Did
it
you
was
say
Lakeview
Lakeview?
Circle.
Lakeview Circle was the other one.
Yes, and that has helped a lot on us. Our water has leveled out until everybody starts filling the pools up, and there'll be a usage.
Do you have any questions on the water and sewer?
I'm looking at the water vault, 810-79.
Mhm.
We've got this fund money coming in, and this was designated, looking back, was gonna be water source, it'd be another well and another tank.
right?
down there. And we definitely need to stick with what we decided way
Right.
back or talked about. And that will take care of that water loss. We've cut that way down.
That and also the leaks that they're finding.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So we cannot change what we already submitted. That grant is what it is. It cannot be
Right.
changed.
Yeah, we can't, it's gotta go to that, so we can't change it.
Right, right. And that's, well, that's good. Because
If there was one thing that we could add to it, we should have went ahead and painted every water tank we had. It took us 4 years to get the 3 we did paint. Well, I don't know if any of
I
y'all
don't know
have
if
been
it
by
would've-
Gray's
I
Crossing.
don't know if it would have been approved because it's basically infrastructure, and that's not
Right.
considered infrastructure.
that's maintenance.
I'm talking about the loan we took out to pay the 2 clear wells and the elevated tank at the old city hall.
Right.
I tried to get the board at that time to go ahead and go along with painting, go ahead and get another 400,000 to paint it one, because that's about twice the big a tank at Gray's Crossing than it is at the city hall. So when we do get around to painting it, the cost is probably gonna be over $500,000 to paint that one tank because of the cost increases. If we should have bit the bullet, borrowed the money, and done it all right then.
That one ain't up in the air. It'll be a lot easier, I would.
We can all get some rattle cans and just have a field day.
No, this one is taller than the other
Yeah.
one. It's one behind the old
That'll
clearance
work.
store up
You
there.
can get that to
The old
pass.
IGA, you
Grace
not,
Crossing.
you not ever paid any attention to it?
Taller than
Yeah,
the elevator.
it's a taller than the elevator down here and twice as big. It's a, I think it's 500,000. That's one thing I'd like to see if we do this tank down here, is do a glass tank.
We've got the money put in there, actually, you actually doubled what it would take to do all those hydrants. And our employees can work on a lot of those hydrants.
I did that because the original, it's 5,000 for the mapping, GPS, looking at them, but then it was like 175 to 250 to repair hydrants, and we don't know how many we have to repair. Well, there it goes. We're done. Adjourned. So maybe I can answer anything else by my memory. I have a paper copy, so I can answer any of your questions.
The tank payment was what put you in the red with it. They wanted it as a capital.
Well, I'm still working on that. I feel like I should be able to make that as a capital outlay project and not a full expense. So hopefully I'll be able to get that changed.
Our fund balances are looking very good, so.
So I'm glad you mentioned that, because in that fund balance, I just wanted to let you all know that is not all of our per se money. We have, get my phone to work here. Everything's wanting to die on me. All right, so we have. So about $565,000 is ARPA money that we've received. That's our ARPA money. And then we received $240,000 of the money that they promised the city. We've received that last week. So sitting in there is the about $565,000 of it is ARPA money that's going to go toward our projects. It's basically going to be our match, that what we have to match. So.
Okay, water and sewer fund. Now, I have got a big issue with our rates. I gave y'all a handout sheet on that.
Which one are you on right now?
We'll go with, see, I gave y'all one, I'm looking for mine. If you will notice, here we go, I got it right here. That the city of Tennessee Ridge, we represent the taxpayers. They elected us. What we're doing, you got 600 in and 600 out listed here, which is even in, even out. But notice out here that the rates, the customers inside, the taxpayers are paying the same rates as those outside. And that is unheard of. For example, I gave you another sheet that shows residential cost of 4,000 gallons. I took 4,000 gallons of water because it'll make it a little bit different. You can see that McEwen is about 46% more. Waverly is 50% more. Erin is 29% more. Dover is 88% more. And Clarksville is 28% more. Clarksville and Erin have the best water rates of anybody around. When you're looking at water and sewer. With the new rate that I suggest here is it's going to be about 39% more for those that are outside the city. If you look at your rate description, and I copied that, off, you see that what I did there is I took off the rate increase. If you look at the page there, no increase for the residential inside, no increase for commercial inside. And I took those rate increases of $4.30 and $1.24 and added them to the cost of the outside residents. And I did the same with the residents and the commercial. Now, if you will look back over here on the other page, I calculated out what the revenues would be. And of course, you just transferred the costs from the inside, the taxpayer, to those that are outside that don't pay taxes. And it comes out to the same amount of money down here. You get your $632,449, and we put it to the outside residents at $632,502. Now, the commercial outside, I had to increase that about 7 cents more to get it to come out right there. Now, when you get down here on sewer, you only got 8 customers. Now, you could have totally changed that. I originally changed that to where that instead of that, well, sewer is, just forget about sewer. If we change just no rate increase for the taxpayer, we represent the taxpayers. No rate increase for the taxpayer in the city limits. We increase the water and sewer rates on those outside the city. Last year, you did the same thing. You increased, you gave a little more, bigger increase, I think, to those inside the city than you did outside the city.
I believe inside the city is the only one that got an increase last year.
Yes. And so the taxpayer got a rate increase. Plus, if it wasn't for the taxpayer, you wouldn't have a water system up here. There would be no infrastructure.
The water system is not funded by general fund. It's not funded by taxpayers' money. Every customer funds the water and sewer, whether they're inside or out.
There would be no outside customers if it wasn't for the taxpayers in the incorporated city.
Explain that to me.
We wouldn't be sitting in this building here if it wasn't for the taxpayer. You wouldn't have a water system or a sewer system if it wasn't for the incorporated city with the taxpayers in the incorporated city. They're the ones that go out and run the lines and they apply for the grants and all and to run that as a service.
But their tax funds do not pay for anything on the water and sewer.
The tax funds, you're paying you're paying the workers. You're paying, the taxpayer pays for the backhoe and all the equipment to maintain these water lines.
I mean, all of the water and sewer customers pay for all that. I think I'm just confused of what you're trying to say.
What you're doing here is unheard of.
It's actually really not unheard of, and I'll try to explain this. And you all, this is something that I presented, and all changes can be made, of course. But the Water Wastewater Financing Board is trying to get cities to understand that when you charge outside customers more, it's because you're supposed to say it costs that much money to produce and to supply that water. You have to prove that someone who is on this side of the city limits and someone on this side of city limits, it's going to cost 3 times more to get them water than it does the one that's inside city limits. It has nothing to do with property or taxes, because everyone on the water system and sewer system fund the water and sewer fund. It's their money. That's who funds it. Taxpayers versus outside, I don't feel like stands to be reasonable when you're talking about the water and sewer fund, because you cannot use taxpayers' money to fund the water and sewer. So when you talk about rates, you have to determine how much money it costs to serve someone who is 1 mile down the road off the city limits versus someone who is 1 mile within the city limits. It's all about how much it costs to get that water and get that sewer and supply that service to the customers. And they want to see where there is not a discrepancy between inside and outside, unless you can literally say and put down in facts, it costs so much money for this person that lives at the lake more than it does this person who lives right next to the water tank. But you have to prove that. You have to be able to break that down. And then also, you come to the, like I am right outside the city limits. I can literally throw a rock to the city limit sign. It doesn't cost the city any more money to get me that water than it does my next door neighbor who is less than 100 yards away from me. So that's where the Water Wastewater Board and the state of Tennessee is trying to get cities, if you want to do this, that's fine, but you're going to have to prove that it costs that much more money to supply water and sewer services to these outside customers.
That city applied for grants to run those. Most of those water lines were run with grants that the city applied for, and a lot of times the county applied to help this the city as well.
That's correct.
And if it weren't for the incorporated city, would you have city water?
There wouldn't be city water, but there would be county water. There would be
County
city of Erin water. I mean, you know,
The city of Erin.
the county would just be where we're sitting, I guess you could say.
But we buy water from the city of Erin, and of course, they have to maintain a treatment plant,
Mhm.
the sewage treatment plant, et cetera. And without the taxpayer, none of that infrastructure would be there, none of it.
Yeah, but without your outside customers who are also supporting that fund, the inside city limits people could not afford to pay just what it takes to run the water department. So our 1,300 property owners couldn't afford to pay $700-something thousand to run the water and sewer fund. I don't know that it's fair to say that it's property owners versus outside. When it comes to the water and sewer fund, I don't know that they should be considered any different from any other water customer or sewer customer or commercial, whichever. And that's just my thought process. That's
So why do I pay
with working
city
with the
taxes?
budget. Well, when you look at your general fund, it tells you why you pay city taxes. You get a fire department that this year is costing us, or I shouldn't say us, but the citizens, $69,000. You also get with that on your general fund, you have different things like Lakeview Circle Dam inspections. You have insurance. You have legal notices. You have electricity. You have tax book expenses. You have telephones. I mean, everything that's listed on your general fund is what taxpayers pay for. This is funded, except for what I take from, I can take off of the state shared money and put over here, and that's even listed. This is what funds, the taxpayers fund the general fund. They don't fund the water and sewer fund. All customers fund the water and sewer fund. So people on the outside of the city limits, you know, and they don't get streetlights because we have electricity in general that people in city limits, they get streetlights. So everything in the general fund is funded by taxpayers' money.
These other cities here that are listed, are they leaning toward this?
I don't know. I honestly don't know. All I know is
I mean,
I noticed that City of Erin doesn't quite do what we're doing. And I will say that if we want to try to reduce this some, we can possibly look at the per thousands. Because honestly, I'm doing this because I feel like the water wastewater boards are coming out and tell us we're going to have to do it anyways, and we're not going to have a say. I did this hoping that this would take care of what they're going to want us to do. But the per thousand on the inside, if you want to, I mean, of course, you can take that increase and you can leave it the same, and it gives us a little bit of a cushion in case the Water Wastewater Board wants us to do, do more.
What was that, Mayor, 4 years ago, they come 4, 5? When was the last time?
It was about 10 years ago.
It's been that long?
It was when we first got this building.
Hey, they serious.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you're always going to have outliers, especially like the case you're talking about where you're right across the city limit line. And there's going to be some customer that's inside the city limits that's further away from the tank than the outside one. But it's very easy to also say the people down in Stewart are obviously costing a lot more to get water to them.
But the thing
There's
about,
no way to segregate that based
And
on a
where's your
mile
leaks
radius.
at? Usually way down
the
there.
thing
somewhere
about
in
the
sewer.
Stewart,
Well, the last
we
leaks that
don't
we
have a
fixed were
pump
inside.
anywhere to do that. It's all gravity. We got a couple of pressure reducing valves to keep from blowing the line out at the end.
Right.
That is the plus to that. Going to Stewart, we don't have no incurred cost other than
The line.
the line.
Maintaining them.
The
I mean,
last
nobody
few's
wants to
actually-
raise rates by no means, but
No, and we have in years past always kept it where the outside city limits paid more. I mean,
Everybody does that. And the Tennessee Ridge Water System Quality Report came back very good.
yes, it did.
It did. And I'm not worried about somebody coming in and taking over and telling us and running our department. The sky is not falling.
Well, I
We need you
mean,
up there next time they
the
come
quality
in. That's
report
all
is
I'm gonna say.
the Water Wastewater Board is different from the quality report from that Division of Water Supplies. It's two different departments.
Okay, we're talking about water here, supplying water to customers.
Right.
And it's the city taxpayers should not be charged the same as outside. Matter of fact, I did a percentage on that for some of them. They're the cheapest on water. They just got 128% sewer rate. Sewer is a
I don't know where y'all getting these numbers. I'm not seeing that big picture.
I don't have it.
Down up the street.
The sewer is a service, just like trash pickup. You're not selling anything, you're providing a service, just a service. And usually it is a percentage of whatever the water bill is. Right now, I think it's roughly 90% is what we're charging sewer right now.
Every utility that I'm aware of loses money on their sewer. And the sewer, a lot of utilities that I've talked with, big and small, they combine their water and sewer like this because the sewer cannot be sufficient on its own. It's usually the water will take care of that sewer.
that's why we can't never get a sewer grant. They just don't give out money for sewers. It's a losing proposition.
I mean, and our issue is we don't have that many sewer customers.
Right, we don't have it.
But we still have the expense of, sending it and,
You could add, it'd be very easy to add a lot of customers to sewer, but they wouldn't like it.
Well, the thing about it is, when we tried in the past to do grants with it, they look at the LMI. What is the number one factor we have in this community? Retirees. Most of them retire from TVA. They're not low to moderate income. Their income, that's what killed us. We tried to do from Bobby Lane to
Grace Crossing.
$600 and something thousand. And this is not a gravity flow system. This was, the grant
like,
would have
picking
bought
up
the
a lot
grinder
more
pump.
customers.
And then it would have been on you if the grinder pump went out. The city's not responsible. But the thing with pressure systems, you don't have no I&I, and you do not have to dig a 20-foot ditch. It'll pressurize itself and push it wherever it needs to go. So,
About an inch and a half pipe.
yeah, I would love, we have tried numerous times to apply for the grants, but when we go in to do the rate study, we've not got that much low to moderate income.
Well, that's because you could only survey the people that are going to be affected.
Right.
You can't survey the entire system.
Exactly. You're surveying where you're gonna put it, and you gotta go through there before you can add to get to the other part. I'd love to see it on Dogwood Drive, but I ain't got nothing but church. And I got a willow tree sitting at the end of my field line right now, stuck on my water. And the other downside of that is the state will not let you build a house on a piece of property now unless you've got 5 acres for a septic system, unless you do a French drain all the way around your property line, and that's about another $50,000 to $60,000.
That's why we give away our trump card. Well, I don't say we give it away, but anyway, you give people, you supply them with sewer, they ought to be within the city limits. Most people, you don't get sewer unless you're in the city.
Right. And then they ain't but just a portion, how many?
Well, the ones that we have on the outside, it's only because of the fact that our sewer line, our pump station on Hurricane Loop is actually
In the county.
in the county. It's out of city limits on Hurricane Loop. So those lines through there, we just picked up those few people on Moore Hollow.
You could
So
take-
that's the only ones we have on the outside.
With that line coming right across there, well, you can probably hook up everybody on Carl Taylor Road right in here, right on the sewer right now.
You can't do it with the gravity flow. It won't work with the gravity
I
flow.
don't know where the line runs.
The line runs down, if you've been in the subdivision Greg Black's doing, take a drive through there, when you get down in that holler, it just about runs that creek all the way down.
Mhm.
Just goes right down.
So where the main line is versus where Carl Taylor is, it won't work with that gravity flow.
I live supposedly like it's my house.
And we did the grade and everything on yours, and it's just low enough to where you'd have to get a pump in order to. Mhm.
It was cost prohibitive to get on it.
I would love to see a lot more sewer customers.
My position is, no raise, not gonna raise the customers in the city, raise customers outside. I don't still. That is, the way it's done, everybody around us. McEwen has got the, not bad water rates, they got the worst sewer rates.
Dover's got the biggest discrepancy between inside and outside.
But McEwen's got 194%. I have the water and sewer rates, here, all of them. For all these parts. Then you get Dixon's pretty reasonable.
This is per thousand, is that right?
That is per thousand.
I mean, they also have the
I- I
customer
look,
base
did
too,
that
where we
recently. I
don't.
did 4,000 gallons.
Right,
Because
that's about one.
Average person. If it comes up, it'd be right in the ballpark right there. It wouldn't change the revenues any, but there's no increase to the taxpayers in the city. And it would be to the outside residentials. I don't think they should be equal. I disagree with that. Whether the wastewater treatment folks, they're not the taxpayers here in the city, and they don't vote for us. I represent the taxpayers.
What's the taxpayers gonna do if they come in here and levy a garnishment on us, and they come in and take our water system over, and they say, hey, this $40 is too cheap, we're gonna go to 60, you ain't got a leg to stand
You
on.
name me one, of any municipality that they went in and took over.
Yes.
They probably does, I do not.
What, they don't take over per se, but they will come in, because we are underneath an order from the Water Wastewater Board that we have been on underneath for 3 years now, maybe 3. We're waiting on TAUD to finish our rate study, but they will come in, and they did it 10 years ago to us. And they said, you will raise these rates. And if you don't, then we will come in and we will raise them for you, and then we will work your budget for you. And we don't care where we cut, we'll
I
cut.
mean, we did do that and we straightened it all out.
We had to do we had to do
If we hadn't,
15%.
I personally was gonna have to go to Nashville before this board. State, like our case, why we wasn't operating in the.
You
So
have
it
a
was-
1.5 million fund balance. How can you be operating?
We can't take all that out just for water.
You can't use your fund balance for your operating budget. You have to have your balances, your revenue versus your expenses per year. And if you look on if you look on your budget, on the water and sewer, if you go all the way down to, let me find it for you. So right there, it says reconcile to regulatory basis for WWFB. That's the Water Wastewater Financing Board. It's going to be on page 3 of your water and sewer budget,
Page one.
page 3 on your water and sewer. So that is in there because this is part of our audit. It shows after we take away the extra revenues that we have as in the ARPA money, and then that grant that we're receiving for the zone. After we do all of that and we take off our contributed capital, we're only in the good $1,400. That's what the wastewater board looks at. That entire area is just for them. And that's what goes in our audit.
So we're talking, I'm hearing two different things. We got the red and black, whether you're operating red or black, and then we've got the rates for the customers. Which one is going to cause the board to come and take over? The operating in the red or setting different rates?
I'm sorry. I don't understand, Matt. I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
Rates actually make this fund balance come up from 1478. You just increase your water rates and everything, and then that kind of level.
No, before I did this rate increase, we were in the negative.
Right, but what they care about is that this budget's in the black. That's what they want to see. And so what he's saying is move the money from the inside to the outside, raise them
Right,
more,
leave
don't
it-
raise the inside, and
Leave
it's
the
still balanced.
increase the same, only put it on the people on the outside.
So that wouldn't cause them to come and take over because your
You're
budget's still
getting
in
the
the black.
same money, you're
Same
just
money,
putting
right.
the increase on the outside people rather than on the inside people.
Then you're saying that the water board, the state don't want to do that. Put it
Well,
on-
they're trying to get it to where cities don't do that, yes. But with that being said, I'll say it time and time again, taxpayers do not fund the water and sewer fund. All customers fund the water and sewer, not just taxpayers. And I feel like you have to separate when you come to water and sewer because your taxpayer money is not paying for that. It's all customers. Now, if we want to look at this and reduce it, I don't have a problem with that or somehow, come up with another solution. I don't have a problem with changing anything because I'm just presenting it as I feel it needs to be in order to get this budget passed, per se. Me being an outside resident, I think I'm the only one here. I don't think it's fair that I should pay that much more than someone who's inside because property owners and property tax people, they don't fund that water and sewer. I do, you do, but I'm also outside city limits. I fund it as much as you all do. And it doesn't cost me any more to get you all to get me water than it does someone who is 100 feet from me. So I agree what you're saying. I understand exactly what you're saying, Travis. As far as,
Would you vote to be incorporated into the city?
yes,
Then you would get the lower rates.
I would do it because I would probably be thinking about the city and property taxes. As far as a resident, only thing you all can give me that I don't already have is a street light. Well, I mean, cheaper water if we don't do this, but, I mean, the taxes that I would pay wouldn't cover the
So-
difference in the water.
I'm torn because I mean, you're arguing because you're right on the city limit, so it's going to be, I mean, everybody's got an argument, but if you look at the majority of the outside customers, it does cost more. You've got more water lines, you got more all that, so it does cost more to get those people water. Again, you're an anomaly, there's people
As
inside
far
the
as,
city.
and the depreciation goes, you have to depreciate all water lines. So if the depreciation on those outside residents is more, then I could see that. Because as you see, we have to put our depreciation in the budget. But it's not as simply as saying property tax people shouldn't have to pay more than people who don't pay property tax. It's a little bit more, I think, a little more difficult than that.
Somebody come along and said, well, you got to put your budget, all have separate budgets for water and sewer and separate budgets for general fund and da-da-da, and street fund and whatever. But actually, they categorize it, but it's still one budget.
It's not.
But they want to,
One is a governmental budget and one is enterprise. One is modified accrual accounting and one is accrual. It's two different things. It's not the same budget. It's part of one budget, but it's separate budgets. Yes. Everything
is
about the
accrual.
enterprise fund is completely different
would you
from
say
governmental.
one is accrual,
One is accrual and one is modified accrual. So, which means like, okay, depreciation, let's say depreciation. We have to show depreciation on our water and sewer, which is our enterprise. But if you notice, we don't show it on our general. But in the audit, our general depreciation is shown. So everything about these accounts is different. It's not the same account, it's not the budget, it's not the same type of budget, and it's not the same type of accounting either.
I think you'd be hard pressed to find any city that doesn't charge more outside.
I'm not saying that I don't believe that you maybe should look at
Everybody-
that. I don't think that the entire increase should be laid on top of outside people. Maybe we could split it or do something a little bit different.
When you look at Clarksville, some of these charge much higher rates. Clarksville is low. I can't use Clarksville.
Well, they have, look how many customers
I
they
say
have.
it's a quantity thing.
I mean, we have 1,200 customers, and that's funding an entire water and sewer budget
Versus probably.
versus, who know, oh gosh, probably more than that, right?
So like for Erin, it's $10 more. $10 more if you're outside of Erin than if you're inside of Erin for that 4,000 gallons.
And they also, I mean, it's even hard to even, we can't even compare to Erin because they're industrial customers. I mean, TVA and
I'm not
they,
talking about the rates, I'm talking about the difference.
right, the
between inside and
difference, right,
outside.
yeah.
Clarksville charges $3.54 for each additional, for 1,000 gallons in the city and $7.08 out of the city. Almost double. Yeah, it is double.
Well, I kind of feel like
Dover
they're,
charges 155% more if you're outside of Dover than they do inside of Dover. It's 5.25 if you're per 1,000 in Dover. This is over the minimum. And over the minimum is $13.40 per 1,000.
what is their minimum? I've always wondered
Their
what their minimum
minimum's
was.
1,000 gallons. We're
I mean,
only
the
one-
base amount, what is their base amount minimum?
Their base amount is 13.25.
13.25. See, that's
For 1,000
that's
gallons.
crazy.
And we charged $28.30 for 1,500, and that comes out a little different. Most people just do 1,000 on the minimum. Most are doing.
I mean, we
1,000.
can reduce our minimum and that will also offset some of the extra. I mean, there's other ways
There
we
should
can look
be
at this.
no increase whatsoever. You increased the taxpayer more last year than you did the ones that wouldn't pay in taxes. And I hold that you would, unless the county itself, the county can't, well, no, don't do water systems. It has to be a city. It'd have to be Erin. And Erin charges $6.70 inside, $7.90 outside per 1,000. But they're only 18% higher. Erin isn't very cheap on their water rates. Matter of fact, Erin and Clarksville water and sewer rates combined are probably the cheapest of anybody around us.
Probably because they
And
pull from
again,
the Cumberland.
They got a big customer base,
Right,
both of them do, and a lot of
Yeah,
industrial customers,
industries,
et cetera.
right. And they can
worst-
afford to have those cheaper rates.
The worst is McEwen. They're 194% their sewer bill is of their water bill. So if you take, and it's not going to change the budget, it's not going to change the bottom line on your budget to add the increase to the outside customers, and you can just forget about the only 8 sewer customers. One of the things I think you could change is commercial is 15,000 minimum, the first 15,000. Also on sewer is, let's see, I don't know if they do it on sewer.
All commercial is 15, I mean, all commercial is
15,000.
15,000.
And so they're paying a little over $2 a 1,000, which is a whole lot cheaper than the residential customers are having to pay. They're paying $5.03 a 1,000. It comes out a little over $2 a 1,000 for the commercial. And most of them don't probably use over 15,000 a month. I think that ought to be probably the minimum ought to be changed to 1,500 or 1,000. Most cities, everybody I've seen, well, Clarksville charges depending on the size of your meter. If you got a 3/4 inch meter, they charge you a $5 fee. And it's going up to $8 and a little bit higher. And if you got a 1-inch meter, it's a little more. They charge you a meter fee, and then they just charge you for the foul.
So can I ask you a question? So, where it says the base amount on inside and outside, they're both $4.30 increase. Are you saying that you want the outside residents to have, outside water customers to have an $8.60 raise on their base?
Well, see, last year, instead of putting it on the outside customer, increasing their rate, we increased the inside customer. So they're getting a higher raise this year to offset the raise they should have got last year.
The reason why we did that last year was so the inside would be closer to the outside.
And that's wrong. I think that's totally wrong. I think the inside customer should, the outside customer should be charged more than the outside customer. You would not have an outside customer if it wasn't for the inside customers. They wouldn't exist. And there would be no reason for anyone to ever want to be in the city of Tennessee Ridge. What incentive do they have? You've got the same benefits right now that anybody living in. Why pay city taxes if you don't have to?
Again, though, taxes have nothing to do with water and sewer, and that's just my
Well,
stand on that.
That on paper they may not, but they do. It wasn't for the incorporated city, there would be the taxpayer in the city, there would be no water system, period. And this has been this way for many years and hadn't been a problem. Now, I can understand your point of view. If I was doing the budget and I lived right outside the city limits, I would do this. I'm not saying I wouldn't do the same thing.
I will say right now that the budget and me where I live are not connected whatsoever. I did the budget to bring in the funds and to try to where not one group of people were being hit as hard as another. That's where I stood when I was making the budget. Where I live had nothing to do with it. I just didn't want to see the 600 people because of, they're on the outside. I don't want to see them get an $8.60 out of minimum wage increase on their base. So
Even the way you're
so
doing
what
it,
I did was I took the amount of money that I felt like we needed to get us in the black and had all of the customers try to share that expense.
you're giving the inside customer, if you look over here, your additional gallons per thousand, you're giving them $1.24 increase. And if you look at the outside, you're giving them a 3-cent increase. So in other words, the taxpayer is paying $1.21.
No, in other words,
more.
inside customers, not taxpayers, are
That's
at that. But it was
says
to bring it up.
$INC.
It was to bring it up at the same amount. Now, if you don't want to add that, if you look on the other sheet, that right there, it only brings in that's $74,000. So I don't know how much it would be if we left it where it was at 503. I didn't.
It's probably irrelevant, that number on the first page, I think the number's wrong.
The number is
The
wrong.
increased number is $50.24. I don't know that matters because that's not the budget part, that's just you showing what we went up.
Tell me again, where's it at?
The additional gallons per thousand inside customers, well, 503 is
It's not, is it?
$1.27.
Budget.
No, it's not, is it?
Just give you guys a number.
Thank you for that. Thanks for pointing that error out of 1,000 pages, Matt. I appreciate that.
But anyway, that's.
You're doing a great job.
Thanks, I appreciate that. So anyways, that's why I did what I did, because I knew what we needed as far as the water and sewer fund. I knew what it needed, and I didn't want to see one group of people have to pay to get us in the black. So this just is my sheet presented to you You are the board, you vote, and then you decide how you want to do it.
What I'm showing you here is you could increase the outside customers. You're not changing the numbers, just, what, 449 to 502, that's, about $53, something like that.
4,000 gallons.
No,
I
no,
mean,
that's,
on 1,000 gallons.
that's on well, that's on the bottom line here. I'm looking at the rate description. This page has got the,
Okay.
see, water, the total gallons and the total income is 632,449.
Right.
If you take those increases, don't put them on the city. The city was actually getting a larger rate increase than those outside again this year. They got a larger one last year. So you're having them, they don't deserve that. You need to take the rate increase, put it on the outside customers, so it's gonna make a larger increase for them this year, won't next year. But your total income here, and just forget about the sewer. Everybody pay the same on sewer, and you're not changing the income on the waterfront. It's the same. It's just that you took the same increase and put it on
He gave us.
those outside, because you got 600 customers out, 600 in. It's very simple.
It's the same thing he just did over.
So you're not affecting your fund balance at all. The income is the same. It's just that who's getting the increase in the rates change. And the taxpayer, I don't agree with that at all. I think the taxpayer, that's been true is for 48 years I've lived here. It's always been those inside want to charge as much as those outside. That's all you're doing, is you're just shifting the increase. We're providing the city of Tennessee Ridge is providing a service because we're here, and we should. And there's money made in selling water. You're getting, even at $5.03, what Aaron's charging us, we're paying Aaron $1.30 a thousand, we're selling it for $5.03 a thousand. We'll be able to make money on that.
Well, if we were making money, we wouldn't be underneath the Water Wastewater Financing Board. That's the issue, is that we were not making money. We were falling into our fund balance, and you cannot do that.
Well, there's something wrong with it somewhere.
Because we have 1,200 customers who are footing the entire bill. You know, we buy water. We're not an independent source. We don't have, you know, independently, we're not independent. Our sewer expense is outrageous. So a lot of this water is covering the sewer.
What are we paying per gallon again? What are we buying it for?
You're buying it for $1.30 a thousand this next year. Aaron, that letter, she sent you a copy of that. It's $1.30 a thousand.
They're wanting to go up on that.
They're going up each year, but in the next 4 years through 27, it ain't gonna be but a 42% increase. It's only going up to $1.85 per thousand. And we're already selling it at $5.03 to inside customers. If that ain't a money-making proposition, I don't know what is. No, I'm looking at sewer rates. I'm sorry.
I was going to say,
I'm sorry.
I'm-
I'm sorry. We're paying $2.90. I was looking down,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. We're charging $5.03.
Right.
I'm sorry. That's, in other words, you're making, it only went up 11%. I mean, that's reasonable. Next year, they're going up 7%, and the year after that, 3.2, and a little over 17% in 27. I think they're,
I mean, you also notice, though, on your water and sewer budget, your expenses, that water bought, that line item just for water, the 30-810, 79,
we're gonna fix that.
it's $75,000. just to buy water from the city of Erin.
But still, I mean, I know that's, we're not having to treat that water we're buying from them. We're not even having to pump it.
No, I'm not saying that I'm just saying it's still an expense.
It's an expense, but you take, you're making $2 and, you know, $2 a gallon, $2 per thousand profit. I mean, over the cost.
I would say over the cost. I wouldn't say
Over the
profit.
cost.
Yeah.
Okay, over the cost.
It's not profit. It's
You're correct.
definitely not, no,
One or
it's
two
not
leaks-
profit.
1 or 2 leaks will take care of that.
Yeah.
It'll take-
Than just buying it.
There is no cost when you buy it. But we've got this ARPA grant. We're gonna get a new well put in. Wells right now run you about $12,000-15,000 to get a well drilled. And then you get that new tank online. Well, we'll be in good shape.
We hope.
I mean, I
Well,
feel like that
that's where our plan
needs,
is anyway.
The last well we dug, we reverted back to the landowner because it wouldn't pump enough water to keep the turbidity out of it. The break well, not the break well, the Stockard well.
the other one, yeah.
You may have been on the board when the Stockard well was done.
I may have been.
You know, the one over there that was behind Miss,
Yes, I know what you're talking about.
that never would,
Never would produce.
it never would produce because it would get to sucking so hard and stir the mud up.
So can I make a suggestion? I feel like we need to maybe come back and look at this budget another time. So we can have like another special call meeting just to talk about the budget. If you all are not in a position to vote on it tonight, if you don't,
Well, I mean, you know, the first reading, it's got to pass the second reading. If we have a special call meeting, we can talk about it. We can't vote.
yeah, you can vote as long as it's just about whatever's on
We'll probably have a
the,
discussion meeting on it. then-
you can vote on, at any special call meeting. You
But to
can only
keep it-
vote on
to
what's
keep
on the
everything,
agenda.
I mean, that's up to the board, but to keep everything on a timeline, it could pass the first reading tonight, and we could have a special call meeting to just discuss the budget, and then in June,
Come back with
discuss
the
it again and
changes.
vote
we
on it the
can.
second time.
And if we don't vote on it at the first meeting in June, we can have
See-
another. See, the thing about it is
It's
though,
got to pass. It's
I have
gotta-
to have it published in the paper 10 days
Yeah.
prior to the second reading.
Right.
So it's going to be an issue with the calendar. So before we do anything in June,
Right.
if we have a special
But
call,
if it don't pass tonight, you're throwing everything a month behind, you're going to have an extension on your
yeah, it's,
budget.
I mean,
and it gets into
it's hard
other
Why
to,
don't we- if you gotta have a special call meeting, you need to do it within the next week or two.
stuff. Right,
no, you'd have to do it next week.
next week. And then come back in June, first of June with a,
So we do a reading on it, then do a bunch of math changes. Don't start over.
No,
no,
no, you can do your first passage, and then between now and the time that we do our special call meeting, I can make the changes and present that, whatever.
I would say it's
Um,
probably semantics. I disagree a little bit with
Or we
some
can
of
talk
the,
about the changes at the special call meeting, and then in June, we'll pass on the second reading with the changes that are presented in the budget.
I disagree a little bit with some of the basis of it, but I actually agree with the numbers that you got on here. The rate increases.
I think we can vote we can pass it on the first, if we're willing to no rate increases for water and sewer for inside customers, taxpayers, inside customers.
of course, we can change that too at the special call meeting. I mean,
You gotta vote on it. So-
if we vote right now on not to change this, they can't even be discussed.
No, it can be discussed. Anything about the budget can be discussed at the special call meeting, about the budget. And that's part of the budget. So what I'm saying is you can pass it on the first reading tonight with no changes. Then we can come in and we can
I'm talking
do
about
it.
if they change this tonight, if you vote to change this. Ain't that what you're talking about?
Right.
If you vote to change this, it's done in the budget, that part.
They usually revert back in the special meeting, right?
If you make a motion to to pass the budget with no increase to inside customers, then you can come back and make another motion, but then you're having to, I mean, it's repetitive. I don't know why.
Yeah. I mean, we can pass it as is
And then make changes.
and then make
And then make the
changes.
changes,
at the
because there's going to be a lot of changes, I feel.
Yeah,
Like,
it's gonna be a
gonna
lot.
be-
It's gonna be more than this. Or we can table it. Not vote it.
Or
'cause
if you
that's
don't
gonna-
vote at all, you're going to have to vote at the special call meeting. One way or the other. So if you want to make a motion to pass it on the first reading, we can, and then we have a special call meeting and make our changes. And then coming back in June, we would have the change budget, and then you would vote on the second reading with the change.
I'm just worried about the timeline. I don't want it to go past June. Cause can we vote on it on a special call meeting? Right. Okay. Man,
We can't change the June meeting. It's already set.
they're all,
No, you just recess it. You don't adjourn it.
we can just recess till the special call meeting next week and then we can vote. We can vote then.
Well, I can make, in the minutes, I'll make a no action taken on the budget, but we still have several things left on the,
Yeah, on the agenda, I've still got to go through some other stuff here. So, we can, if everybody's in agreement, do we have to vote? Do we need a vote, a motion to recess?
when we get ready to,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Will that meeting open back up for any discussion or budget only?
Any
If
discussion?
you're recessed, you can open up anything.
If it's recess, it's anything. Well,
Right.
it's what's on the agenda, I guess you
Yeah,
could say.
but I think we can, what's here, we can go on through tonight and have just the budget. So,
I mean, the only thing, what do we got left? The rest of this is pretty much budget, isn't it?
it's all, well, is it a
Tap
budget?
fees.
I hadn't read it, what's on the agenda.
It's tap fees, and I'd lost my little sheet somewhere amongst all this.
Yeah,
mess.
tap fees,
Tap
that's-
fees and meter deposits.
Which
increase.
we all talked about, last month. We're gonna have to go up on them too.
And there is a sheet in your packet that explains the actual cost for the water taps and then and why we're doing an increase. And the meter deposits, we're losing money. Our water bills are higher than our deposits, and even with owners, we're have a lot of unpaid bills.
I think everybody's had to go up on their minimum deposit. Is ours still $50?
Well, for now.
Yeah, I mean, that's what it is right now.
Yeah.
So you want to run through these then?
Yeah, I'll run. You see, the first one we're in now, the budget, so. Under new business, the first reading of ordinance 2023-287 to adopt water tap fees, sewer tap fees, and road boards. And she's got that, the price it was going to.
Motion to approve.
Have a motion?
Second.
Second?
Wait, put that on the wrong one, hold on. Skip down one. Motion by Matt Williams, second by Brian Bumpus. Mayor Odom,
Yes.
Brian Bumpus.
Yes.
Matt Williams,
Yes.
Travis Wyatt,
Yes.
vote 4 yes, motion is passed.
Leslie may have to shed some light on this next one. The reading of the ordinance 2023-288 to amend to section 18-113 of the Tennessee Ridge Municipal Code.
That is part of the meter deposits.
Meter deposits, okay.
288, yes.
Well, we know they got to go up, so.
Clarifying, this is not going to go retroactive. We're not going to go back and start billing customers for the difference, just moving
No,
forward.
it's take effect July, whoever has it after July, on July 1st or after.
We have a motion.
Second.
We have a second.
Motion by Matt Williams, second by Brian Bumpus. Mayor Odom?
Yes.
Brian Bumpus?
Yes.
Matt Williams?
Yes.
Travis Wyatt?
Yes.
Vote 4 yes, motion is passed.
Well, the next one, we're gonna be discussing the water and sewer rates, so we'll discuss it next, at the special call meeting.
Well, recessed.
That's a recess meeting. Okay. And,
That last one.
the next one is the reading of the ordinance 2023-290. She's added this one in to amend the 2022-23 budget for the expenditure and receipt of the rescue squad grant.
Didn't we say we were gonna give them like 14,000, that way they could?
That's in the budget for next year. This is just in case I
Oh, this is
receive
accept-
those funds.
I got
It's
you.
this year we're sitting in. I have to have receipt and expenditures in case we get to
Motion to approve.
take care of everything.
We have a motion and a second.
Travis, I'm sorry. I'm reading from bottom up, I guess, Mayor. Motion by, I'm tired, y'all. This budget, I think I've dreamt about it for the last 3 months. All right, so motion by Matt Williams, second by Travis Wyatt. Is that right?
Yep.
Okay. Mayor Odom,
Yes.
Brian Bumpus.
Yes.
Matt Williams.
Yes.
Travis Wyatt.
Yes.
Vote 4 yes, motion is passed.
Okay, so, we just recess. Need a motion to
motion.
recess till,
Yes.
we need a date. We need a date.
Anytime next week, if you all just want to meet on Monday, we can rearrange that veterans meeting. If you want to do it next Monday,
I don't know if
Monday's not good.
y'all
for
can
me.
have this without me, but one time a month is all I can guarantee. I never know where I'm gonna be on a day-to-day basis. I could be in Ornwald, I could be in Lewis County, and I don't know if I'll make it here, but y'all can carry on without me.
I won't be here Monday if you guys do it
okay,
Monday.
that's fine. We can do anytime next week. We got the
What about next
Tuesday's the
Tuesday?
9th. Tuesday work?
I can do Tuesday.
Tuesday the 9th,
Tuesday's good with me.
let's recess, make a motion
Good.
to recess to Tuesday the 9th.
Okay.
Don't count me in, I may be here though.
Okay,
Okay.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to recess till May the 9th
okay. Motion.
at
was that
6
by Travis?
o'clock, right?
Okay.
Yeah, motion. by
So
Travis.
motion by Travis White, second by Brian Bumpus, to recess until May 9th, 2023 at 6 PM. Mayor Odom,
Yes.
Brian Bumpus.
Yes.
Matt Williams,
Yes.
Travis White.
Yes.
Vote 4 yes, motion is passed to recess.
We're in recess.